So many reports of YouTube creators burning out and quitting. We need to ask the question, what are the keys to lasting success on YouTube? You know, personally, I've been doing video production for over 20 years. I've been doing YouTube for over 17 and have grown 3 different channels to over 100,000 subscribers, have grown our main channel, Think Media, to over 3 million subscribers now. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, but more importantly, I've made a ton of mistakes. There's some unique pressures that come with posting content consistently on YouTube, reinventing yourselves over the years, and continuing to grow and stay ahead and not get plateaued. And so in this episode of the Think Media podcast, I really want to share the ultimate guide for surviving on YouTube and not burning out from my perspective. And I really believe there's going to be nuggets in here that'll help you not just reach your goals in terms of views and subscribers, but also stay mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically healthy on the journey, and really maybe craft a vision for the long haul and not just short-term viral success on YouTube. We're going to be talking about the 8 reasons why creators burn out and how you can avoid them to sustain your own passion and growth. I'll cover the 10 crucial lessons I've learned for building a long-lasting YouTube career and why balancing your hustle, because no doubt about it, YouTube does take hustle, work ethic, and if you don't have seasons of sacrifice, you may never break through. Saying that, rest is vital for success. And so I have some actionable tips that I've learned for increasing productivity and well-being while also having seasons of rest. Now, today's episode is brought to you by thinkmasterclass.com. We do have a 1-hour on-demand class for how to start and grow a YouTube channel right now, and the exact strategy we're using at Think Media to generate over 120,000 views a day. Link in the show notes to that, but let's dive into the core content. Before we get into the 10 lessons that I've learned for building a lasting career on YouTube, I want to talk about 8 reasons why content creators burn out. I think these are going to be powerful because if you can avoid the reasons that YouTubers burn out, you will never burn out, theoretically, right? That's the big idea. And really, this comes out of just being in the industry for so long. You know, the first channel I ever started was in 2007 for my local church in Marysville, Washington, an hour north of Seattle. And then eventually I started multiple different channels, collaborative channels with others, personal channels. The first VidCon, which is the largest event for YouTube and kind of the creator economy, was in 2014 that I attended over 10 years ago. So I've gotten to see a lot of people rise and fall in the creator economy. There's different reasons why maybe they've burnt out, they've not lasted, and let's cover those because I think there's a lot of insights we can learn. So why do YouTubers ultimately burn out and quit? Well, number one is a lack of profit, financial instability. The truth is, being a content creator, being self-employed, and being in seasons sometimes of having maybe highs when it comes to brand deals and sponsorships, and then seasons where it might be a feast or famine, where it's a famine and no deals are coming in, or monetization can even fluctuate. The simple fact is that they run out of money. I think this one is maybe obvious, and if you're thinking about like, is this still worth doing? I've been doing this for a while. I feel burnt out because there's not enough money coming in. This is obviously a big thing to solve. And I think it's not just learning the skill of getting views and monetizing your content. I think that also sometimes lifestyle inflation or lack of financial responsibility or lack of discipline with your finances, saving for a rainy day, not thinking that a good season as a content creator that the seasons will always be the same, but being prepared for the highs and the lows. And so having a level of practicality and frugality when it comes to protecting and managing your money is a big deal. So lack of profit is number one. Number two is a lack of progress. Meaningful growth is not happening fast enough. Makes sense. It wears you down. You get fatigued by not having enough progress. Again, I think reinventing yourself, continuing to post videos and staying encouraged and staying patient, but also making sure that if a certain strategy is not working, you got to look for a new strategy. Sometimes I think a lack of progress doesn't mean you haven't broken through in 3 weeks or 3 months. But if you haven't broken through in 3 years, there's definitely a pivot that should have happened, I think, probably a few times along the journey. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so a lack of progress would be another reason they burn out. Number 3 is passion fatigue. Losing interest or excitement in the content being created. This one's incredibly common because we oftentimes start a YouTube channel around our passion, but what we don't predict is that 3 years later or 6 years later or 9 years later, we'll probably still be talking about the same thing. Now, you certainly could pivot your niche or pivot your channel topic, but this speaks to why choosing the right channel topic at the start is a big deal. One that can not only sustain you financially, but something that will keep you curious over enough of a long haul. And I think the fact that, I'm 17 years into this and still talking about video, and throughout this video, I'm going to talk about how it's been hard at times. I have to renew my passion and kind of even resell myself on the vision, because you talk about the same thing for 17 years. There's something about the fatigue that can come with that. But bottom line is, I think that the reason people maybe burn out or quit, or maybe even a better word, retire, is passion fatigue. And the question is, can you actually rekindle your passion, or is it appropriate that you change niches or change channel topics or give up on YouTube altogether? The question is, just because you change topics doesn't mean people will change with you. So if you have the fortitude and the blessing of picking a channel you're passionate about in the first place, that could be a big advantage. Number 4, pursuit of trends, constantly chasing trends rather than creating meaningful content. This is one of those tensions to be managed. The reason YouTubers burn out is, I think that once you understand the algorithm, maybe you understand what types of videos will get views, you start to play that game, you start to get views, but then eventually you're like, what am I doing now? I'm just chasing the algorithm. I'm just chasing trends. I'm not necessarily creating the content that I want to make. This is a tension to be managed. And so finding ways to pursue trends or create content that gets views or pay the bills so there's not a lack of profit, but also create the content that's meaningful to you, create content that feeds your soul. Just going through reasons why they burn out, and hopefully this sparks your thinking in terms of, how can I be aware of these so that I can stand the test of time and build a channel that lasts? Number 5 is personal life, neglecting personal time and relationships for the sake of content. Truth is that it is very hard to sustain your public platform, your public persona, your public image, or even just the motivation, resilience, and grit needed to create content consistently if your personal life is not doing well. And there is a level of pressure that comes with YouTube that I've seen affect marriages, affect families, and even lead to things like divorce and families breaking up. I would argue that YouTube would not be ultimately to blame, but I think being aware that the nature of starting a small business, ultimately being an entrepreneur, growing something, and embracing the pressure that comes with a creator economy career and the pressure of a side hustle, if you're working full-time and doing YouTube on the side, it's a lot. It can affect your personal life. So nurturing your personal life, I think, is an engine. It is the engine of sustained success for your public life. So just something to be aware of as to the undercurrents of a cracked foundation that could lead to why someone eventually burns out. Number 6, physical exhaustion, long hours of filming, editing, and promoting content. Beyond the actual physical hours it takes, I think there's also a mental pressure that can lead to sheer exhaustion. And sometimes the need of physical recovery, but underestimating the need of mental recovery and emotional recovery if you have a high level of exertion in putting out worthwhile video ideas that get significant views and earn significant money. There's some exhaustion that comes with it. Number 7 is pace. The fast-paced nature of content creation can be overwhelming. I have struggled finding a healthy pace, knowing what it is to get on that treadmill, max speed, trying to post as many videos and survive and grow the channel. And then as things have grown and I've hired people, trying to make payroll, and it can all speed up pretty fast. The fast-paced nature of content creation can be overwhelming by trying to compete with those around you, but then also finding a pace of what are your rhythms of sprinting, seizing opportunities, but also slowing down and ensuring your overall health. And then number 8, talking about 8 reasons why YouTubers burn out, is just pressure. Sometimes it feels like, I don't know if I can get another 1 out of 10. Can you relate? I don't know if my last video was great. I don't know if I could do that again. And so there's a pressure to keep your audience happy and reinvent yourself. And am I going to run out of ideas? And what's going to happen? And I think underneath pressure, there's performance anxiety, worrying about views, likes, and subscriber growth. There's the fear of being canceled or rejected by your audience. And I understand there could be 2 sides to this. There could be burnout on the way to success because you're at a lack of profit, lack of progress stage. But for established creators, maybe you've been part-time or full-time for a long time, you have performance anxiety. Like, wow, after a year of creating content, it was a pretty good year. I got to do that again? What am I going to do that's fresh and new this year? So that's performance anxiety. And then I think even perfectionism, striving for flawless content can lead to stress and exhaustion. So lack of profit, lack of progress, passion fatigue, pursuit of trends, personal life, physical exhaustion, pace, pressure, including performance anxiety and perfectionism. All these things can lead to burnout. If you could be aware, I think awareness is the first step towards health and change. If you could be aware of some of the things that could lead to burnout if unaddressed, then you can make a plan. And that's what this next part is about, is 10 lessons I've learned to help you make a plan so that whether you feel great right now or maybe you feel burnt out right now, the encouragement is there's hope. There's always an opportunity for change. You're always one decision away from making the right decision and from getting on perhaps a different path to not quitting YouTube, not giving up, but the ability to keep going, hopefully with better tools. So let's dive into these 10 lessons I've learned for building a lasting YouTube career. Number 1, purpose. Having a clear vision and mission that motivates you. So let me ask you a question. What is the higher purpose, the vision, and the mission of your YouTube channel? Your answer might be, Sean, I've never thought about it. And honestly, bro, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, my channel is just kind of like a side hustle. It's like a side hobby to earn some extra money. There's not really a higher purpose to it. I want to challenge you. If you want to build a YouTube channel that lasts, something that is about legacy and not just short-term currency, I think that this is probably one of the most important points. Having a sense of purpose in life means having a sense of direction and meaning. It means knowing exactly what it is you want to achieve and why it matters. What do you want to achieve with your YouTube channel, and why does it matter? Why is it a necessity? So research has shown that people who have a sense of purpose are happier, they're more resilient, and they're more successful than those who don't. So we can look at, just by the data, that a YouTube creator that has a higher purpose for their channel versus one who just is doing it for fun and just as a hobby, the one with higher purpose is happier, more resilient, and more successful. So they're gonna last longer, have more joy in the process, crash through quitting points more consistently. Why? Because of that mission, that higher level of mission. So I want to encourage you, think about defining for the first time or redefining what's the purpose of your channel. What's the bigger thing you're trying to achieve? How could you impact people, change lives, and not just make money in the process? What is the greater mission behind your channel? This, I believe, is real fuel for not burning out and for lasting the test of time. And the importance of having a higher purpose and a mission behind your channel was really clarified for me in a book I read called High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. And he did the largest research study of high performers, which were those individuals who achieved above average performance in different areas over extended periods of time, not peak performers, meaning they had a spike of success, but then they fell off. That's true for a lot of YouTube creators. They have a spike of success or a season of success. That might be a month, it might be a year, it might be multiple years. But high performers had lasting results over time. And there were 6 elements that led to this success. Well, one of those elements is they raised necessity. What that means is high performers have the ability to raise psychological necessity, the ability of priming their mind that makes doing of a job a must and not just a preference. So for 99% of creators, I think doing their YouTube channel is more of just a preference. It's like, if I get around to it or not, if I feel like doing it or not. It's not a must, it's just a preference. Well, high performers create necessity. Like, actually, if I'm silent, if I don't post these videos, then the world will be worse and not better. This is the kind of mindset thinking that can lead to not burning out. It's raising necessity. It's actually, if I don't solve this problem, create this video, create this solution, people will suffer because of it, which is ultimately true. Because I have to ask you, who is waiting for you to show up and take your dreams seriously? Number 2, passion. Having a genuine interest and enthusiasm for your work. I know we talked about this on the way that people burn out. One of the reasons why I think we get fatigued and burn out is we just kind of lose passion for the subject matter that our YouTube channel is based on. So a couple thoughts. One, I do think finding your lane is a big deal. Sometimes it can be very hard to find your passion. And I think that one of the ways to do that is to try a lot of things and experiment a lot. Sometimes that happens off of YouTube. Volunteer at a church, volunteer for a nonprofit, work in one job, work in another job, try doing sales, try being customer facing, try doing admin, try doing all these different things so that you discover, oh, that's the sweet spot of what I like doing. You know, I discovered my passion for video just because I volunteered at my church. I didn't choose video, video chose me. Then I started doing video production and I thought, okay, wedding videos are kind of fun, but actually I don't like the level of stress because what happens if I miss the kiss or the SD card crashes on someone's most important day? You know, like there was just, I enjoyed them. I did many decent wedding videos for clients, but I discovered, okay, that's not my favorite thing. I had some people that wanted to hire me to do video production for like seminars and just like a science class. And I was like sitting in the back of the room and filming the seminar in front of a whiteboard of subject matter that personally I'm not following along with or finding very interesting. Also, yes, it's video, but it wasn't that specific aspect of video. So I think there's something about finding your lane. And sometimes even on YouTube itself, we talk about niche down, find your topic, but I think it's okay to experiment with a lot of different things. I experimented like on my personal channel, Sean Cannell, with lots of different things, cooking videos, movie review videos. That channel didn't really succeed, but it was a stepping stone towards my success. Bottom line, eventually I found creator economy video, specifically cameras for YouTube creators, not really cinematography as much as, you know, filmmakers. But now in Think Media, it's really, we talk about creator economy tools, and I like talking about YouTube strategy, and have been able to stay in this for a long time because I have a genuine interest and enthusiasm for it. So I just want to encourage you, finding your lane, finding and to self-discovery is going to be a big key to standing the test of time. Because if you look ahead, the question is, how long are you going to stay passionate about this? Would you be passionate about this 5, 7, 10 years from now? Could you see yourself continually being able to renew your passion? This is keys for how to not burn out. This is also why I think it's important to have seasons of rest. And we're actually uploading this podcast on a weekend right before our Sabbath week. And one of the things we do at Think Media is we take an entire week off. Even though we are ahead in terms of our podcasts and our content and our videos, we stop posting on all the platforms. We take a whole week off paid for our team. One time I saw a comment when we posted about this. They're like, what, you give your team a week off? Good for you. Aren't they supposed to get 2 weeks off? And I was like, okay, bro, relax. In addition to their 2 weeks off, and in addition to the other days off. We actually, in total, give our Think Media staff about 6 weeks off of paid time off a year. And one of those weeks where we connect 2 weekends, in addition to their PTO, in addition to everything out, we call it our Sabbath week. Number 3, physical health. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle to sustain long-term energy and focus. So YouTube is a marathon and not a sprint. And if YouTube is a marathon, that means it's physically exhausting, and it is. Now, I understand and want to send love and respect to those who physically break their backs to build society and to build homes and to build commercial buildings, and that put in that real physical labor that makes society work. And I understand that content creators sometimes can sound like they're complaining when they talk about how hard content creation is. Nevertheless, in any industry, you got to protect your physical health. I think a trap that I've seen myself fall into, as well as others, is a neglect of physical health. And I know for me in 2000 and I don't know the year, I'm 40 now, 8 years ago, when I was 32, I started to experience some pain in my wrists, my fingers, my forearms, my shoulders from computer work, basically. And as I dug deep into what it was, I discovered this world of RSI, repetitive strain injury. RSI, repetitive stress injury, tendinitis, tendinosis, myofascia, shortening of muscles, scar tissue that can happen in muscles, nerve entrapment, these different things I discovered that I was experiencing pain. And so I've learned that since that time, I've taken radical steps: rest, working out, physical therapy, sleep, nutrition, exercise, all that kind of stuff. So I think that what can happen, I think for business owners, entrepreneurs, those starting a YouTube channel, there's so much to do, and you're busting your butt to work your day job. You're busting your butt to work your side hustle. You're spinning all the plates you can manage to keep in the air to keep your family going. It's really easy for you to physically break down. I think the encouragement here is to think about, if you burn out in the short term, right, what good is it if you have some short-term YouTube success, but you die, or you literally are incapacitated? So I think pacing yourself, and I've had to learn this one the hard way because I'm so driven and type A, but sleep, people like Sean, you've been hustling. I really protect my sleep. I got to get like 7.5, 8, 9 even. I heard Tom Brady needs 9. Come on, Tom, me and Tom. I like sleep, a nap if I need it. Nutrition, actually thinking about what I put in my body. Exercise. It's been running in the past. I found that that's not really as healthy as lifting, because running's hard on your body. So I've been doing more strength training as I'm 40 now. And then recovery, even just recovery days and active recovery. Sometimes it's nice to just chill out and watch Netflix and just sit around. Sometimes your body needs it. Active recovery, though, walking, cold plunge, sauna, and massage, other things that can happen. This has been a huge priority. Now, I would say that the second biggest financial investment that I make, like the second biggest thing I spend money on, is actually my health. And so if you want to build a career that lasts, be an entrepreneur that lasts, physical health should not be neglected. What's also interesting, the number one regret of most CEOs later on in their life is that they neglected their health. And early on, they sacrificed their health in order to get wealth. And then eventually they make money and they look back and they actually would give any amount of money to get their health back. If you are listening to this podcast right now, I just want to encourage you, don't neglect your health. Let's be built to last. Let's not burn out. Let's be in this thing for the long haul. Let's maintain a healthy lifestyle and sustain long-term energy. Number 4 is personal and professional development, continuously improving your skills and your knowledge. So if we're talking about how to build a lasting career on YouTube, one of the reasons why your career would stop is because you fell off. You lost relevance, one-hit wonder, like a lot of musicians had some good videos or a good video, but were not able to reproduce that success, had an innovative season, but stopped learning, stopped growing, stopped reinventing yourself. So Eric Ries wrote a book called The Lean Startup, and he said this: the only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else. I think that for success in YouTube in the short term, and especially in the long term, you have to be the type of individual who's committed to continuous learning, to never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop investing in yourself. For me, that has been a lifestyle over the past 2 decades of buying books, buying courses, buying conferences, investing in masterminds, investing in coaching. The biggest financial investment is in my education. So if the second biggest financial investment is in my health, the first is in my education. Never hesitating if there's an opportunity to be in the right environment where I can learn, grow, level up, and add to my skill set. Of course, the nature of building a YouTube channel is much bigger than YouTube. It's building an online business, period. And I think one of the important things to consider in this conversation of how do you build a lasting career and how do you not burn out is self-awareness of what exactly are you trying to build. A solopreneur YouTube channel, you and maybe a few assistants, but a very lean operation. You're the only, if you will, employee, in which case you could set up a solo 401k because you just only have contractors. I made the leap into building a company with W-2 employees and contractors. And so saying that, it's beyond YouTube. It's like leadership skills, teamwork skills, operations, hiring, firing, all kinds of stuff. So the only way to win is to learn faster than anyone else. I'm a small town kid, college dropout, to not just not burn out, but to also learn a new skill set for every single level, from 6 figures a year to multiple 6 figures a year to 7 figures a year to multiple 7 figures a year to all the different levels. Number 4, personal and professional development. Continuous improving of skills and knowledge. And I think the commitment to that lifestyle. I would argue you could have short-term success on YouTube, but not long-term success if you skip this point. This is essential. I think all of these are essential. Purpose, passion, physical health, personal and professional development. And number 5, people. These are all essential, I would argue. You need a team. Now, even if you don't build a team of W-2 employees and have payroll at that level of complexity, you need a team. You need people. When I think about this one has been critical to lasting success on YouTube. For example, in my case, and remember, these are my lessons and you might be able to do it differently. But number 1 is I think a strong partner, in my case, my wife, Sonia, as the co-founder, co-owner, CFO of our company. She has been critical to any kind of success that I've had for many reasons. But also just in general, I think marrying the right person, finding the right partner that complements your weaknesses, the level of details, her managing the books and the finances, her allowing me to be creative and to have enough margin and recovery time so that I don't burn out because of what she handles and what she carries, speaks to how long we've lasted. Her holding it down to a lot of things in our personal life, again, I think juggling of trying to handle all the, if you're doing everything, you got to delegate. The question is to whom? And that may or may not be your spouse or partner, but I know that she has been instrumental and beyond instrumental, critical. Like, we're just not talking. You're not on this podcast right now if it's not for my wife, Sonia, because of the numerous and endless list of things that she does in terms of supporting me. That's a big key word, support. You not burning out, you lasting the test of time, you need support. And as life gets complex, I think even these days we're getting into real estate. She's managing multiple homes in multiple states, Airbnb, some remodels, some different stuff. of course, you could and should take breaks from YouTube, but in order to stay on offense, continuing to innovate, recreate yourself, stay innovative, create great videos over the test of time, productize what you know, do all the different things that come with a sustained YouTube career, you need a team, 100%. So that might be your wife. It also could be your family. And sometimes it's about enlisting your team. So how do I cast the vision and get people on board and engaged and do my best to appreciate and acknowledge and keep them unified and keep us on the same page? And we talked about, and the reason YouTubers burn out, that personal life breaking down could also be one of the reasons that happens, which I've been transparent at our event and on this podcast. I think we shared that episode. We've also experienced extreme amount of pressure in our marriage in this last season. 2023 was our hardest year ever in marriage, and have leaned into counseling, one-on-one marriage counseling. A retreat is scheduled to work with an expert, diving into our childhoods and stuff over 2 days. Learning to work together as a couple, running a business together, personal life stuff. And personal life pressure, I know you already know, can bleed over into your professional life. So I think the nurturing of a team, enlisting the team, being unified, because division is two visions, two different visions for what is this thing we're building? What does it look like? What does it look like now? What does it look like for the next season? Introducing kids into the mix. So then family, having your family for your health, physical health, mental health, friends, that sometimes the reason we burn out, right, is because we're just so much in the grind. We don't have outlets of people that we can empathize with and laugh with and connect with. And building a small business, building a YouTube channel could be lonely. I just want to encourage you. You need a team. You need people. And then you got to hire and delegate. And I do believe there's a real path to being a solopreneur on YouTube, doing YouTube full time, having a relatively small operation, but you're delegating thumbnail design, perhaps on Upwork or Fiverr. You have a part-time virtual assistant. You're outsourcing editing. You work with a brand deal agency that funnels you deals. Your admin assistant kind of vets those, and then you look at them. I think that the solo full-time YouTuber, let me encourage you with this. I think you might burn out. I think that not getting the necessary people, and when it comes to hiring and delegating, mind you, again, we're a multi-million-dollar company now, and we have about 25 W-2s now, and my wife and I are trying to figure out how to even be the people and the leaders to run Think Media with what it is now. It's been kind of crazy. But we've delegated things like we have a nanny help us during the day because we both work in the company, and we have landscapers because I'm like, I could and do, in fact, really enjoy watering the plants or working in the garden on the weekend, just because of the getting away from the office and getting away from the computer. Point is, generating revenue and creating that next best video or working on things that only I can work on, which is like writing a script for my next video. What can I delegate?
World will remember this day. Why do they always go bigger?
Colgate Optic White's unique technology gives you a visibly brighter smile in just 3 days.
Our students, they are going out and changing the world.
They're the best professors I've had. It's the combination of their passion, knowledge, and energy.
The participants are building networks across the globe and across industries.
I am constantly amazed at how the various people in the classrooms and the living groups have changed my mind.
It's going to really change your life and your career. Go for it.
low-mileage 2025 Cadillac Optiq all-wheel drive luxury one vehicle shown lease for around $519 per month.
For you to delegate and hire, who can you ask for help? How can you delegate some things? And I want to encourage you to check out my episode with Dan Martell on Buy Back Your Time, which I'll link to in the show notes, because this is a huge part of not burning out. And I think over the test of time, why some make it a few years but hit a wall is they didn't figure out the transition, which is incredibly painful and hard. And I've made mostly mistakes doing it, but hiring, delegating, installing system and team into their life, being willing to even lose money or make mistakes with hiring because you hired the wrong person, and being willing to reinvest dollars to buy your time back, or even just to buy time. Sometimes I'll be like, man, we're paying a nanny so I can take a nap. I'm like, this is kind of an expensive nap. Yes, it is, but it's a very important nap, because tired eyes rarely see a bright future. And if you're constantly fatigued and burnt out and on the edge, then what hope is there? So number 5 is people. You need a team. Number 6, planning is creating and sticking to a strategic plan to guide your efforts. For me, there's a few things under planning that have helped me last and not burn out. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Brian Tracy, and he said this: every minute you spend planning saves 10 minutes in execution and gives you a 1,000% return on energy. When I heard that, it made me realize that if I spend a few hours planning, say at the beginning of a month or even mid-month, it doesn't matter when it is, to look ahead, that every minute I spend planning saves me 10 minutes in execution. It gives me a 1,000% return on energy. Whenever I hear something I'm like, that's a big return. I want 1,000% return. And so what this helped me realize is the more I look ahead and cluster tasks, group similar tasks, group similar meetings, look ahead and schedule batch shooting or batch preparation of videos. Look ahead and even think about the strategy for what I'm doing on YouTube has helped me not burn out. So specifically, batching has been a major key to long-term success on Think Media. Not just always sitting down and recording one video, but sitting down and recording 10 videos in a day. I recently took a trip to Nashville and did 9 episodes. I was a guest on a few shows and shot some Think Media podcast episodes in 2 days. Now, that's not just like a modern where we're at today on Think Media. I have lived that batching lifestyle for over a decade. Living in Vegas while I was working at a church, I was blessed that shows like CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, or NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, was just up the street. And as a tech YouTuber with a tech channel called Think Media, I would drive down to CES. Registration was free. I would film 5, 10, 15, 20 videos in a couple of days. And that would give me leverage to post multiple videos over the coming weeks to grow the channel, to build momentum, to get some views, to make money with affiliate marketing, to get some brand deals, to grow up one video at a time, one upload at a time. I would do this at CES and NAB. And in those early years, I would do it by myself. I would hold a camera out on a monopod. I was the videographer, hold a Zoom H1 portable recorder and interview the rep at the Samsung booth or the Rode booth or whatever and cover some of the new tech. It wasn't just the batching, it was also the strategy for the content formats themselves. Meaning this, is your content format sustainable? It's kind of like if you decide to be a travel YouTuber and then you go, I'm not traveling anymore. It sort of breaks the promise of the channel. Of course you can pivot, but it's just one of those things like, how is it sustainable? An interview show as a video podcast, let's say, is sustainable. While it also might be competitive and common in a lot of cases, it's also sustainable, which is really nice. So while you may be like, okay, well, I could do this versus that, how sustainable is this content format? Even in the positioning of wanting to start a video podcast, thinking about doing solo rounds like this or interview shows, thinking about this subject matter, which I am passionate about, and looking ahead, will I ever run out of creators to interview in the creator economy? I don't think it's actually possible, like in the next 10 years. Will I run out of things to talk about? Not at this moment. I'm brimming with inspiration or episodes I'd love to talk about or Q&A I could do. Here's my point. It's just challenging you to think around your content format, around how you could group similar tasks to get your time back, of how you could, yes, make the content you want to make, but also make content that's practical, maybe leveraging batching, travel, and just taking more time to plan. The more time you look ahead, saves you time, makes you more efficient. Every minute you spend planning saves 10 minutes in execution and gives you a 1,000% return on energy. More planning buys back your time and will help you actually last longer so you don't, again, burn out from just frantically chasing the next task on your to-do list. Number 7, profit. You need cash flow and profit to enjoy the journey, avoid going out of business, to invest in people, to invest in technology, and to invest in resources for long-term success. Now, you might say, Sean, obviously, I'm trying to go full-time doing this. I'm trying to generate money doing this. And a lack of profit or meaningful progress is why people burn out. Bottom line is you need money for the mission. And what I want to encourage you is to just have a renewed fortitude and inner drive to figure out the shortest path to revenue for your channel. I think this actually starts with purpose. And I know how many purpose-driven people we have that sometimes downplay money. And also just think, if I just shoot for the purpose, the money will happen. I don't think that's true. I think you actually need a money plan. You need a business plan. I am of the conviction that we should start with value first, and money should not be the highest priority on our list of priorities, but it needs to be on our priorities list because you need cash flow to relieve some of the pressure so you're not financially stressed about how you're going to pay your bills next week or next month, so that you can stay in business, so that you also can hire and scale things up so that you can invest in yourself. One of my favorite phrases is, as business owners that start YouTube channels with the purpose of it being an online business, you need margin to work on the business and not just in the business. If you're just grinding and barely making enough and barely getting to your next video, and there's never enough time in the day, even more so, there's not enough time for physical health. There's not enough time for investing in your education and taking a trip to go to a conference and learn, then burnout is weeks or months away. If there is not enough time, if you can't create margin to nurture your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, it's just a matter of time. It just depends on how long can you last, right? So I know you understand that. You need money for the mission. That's not the full purpose of this particular episode. This is, though, why I think one of the reasons Think Media has stood the test of time, and I'm still here. I don't know how long I'll be here for, but 17 years on YouTube, just sharing lessons that I've personally learned, is my obsession with ranked videos, search-based content, and evergreen content. While critics have came and went over the years, perhaps assessing my views here or there, looking at Think Media, commenting on whatever video, and seeing that much of my content is not viral, suggestion-based videos, right? Is sometimes like, oh, look at that. I'll post a video on Think Media. They'll be like, man, you could barely get 10,000 views. There's 3 million subscribers there. You could barely get 10,000 views. And I'll be like, well, fair enough. They're looking at the video 2 days later. But what I know is you're commenting on it right now, but you look at the gray YouTube analytics range of views that the average Think Media video gets. The average Think Media video gets on the low end, something like 80,000 views 100 days later. And then on the high end, it's more like 144,000 views. And if you look over all the different videos we post, which mind you have come from different content creators, and there's all kinds of reasons. I'm not here to defend myself. I'm here to say ranked videos, evergreen content, search-based traffic is very underrated because you need cash flow. So when somebody has a pain point or a problem and they search for a product and you have a ranked video connected to affiliate marketing, you have passive income that is helping you pay your bills no matter what the public thinks. Again, some stranger is like, you're not viral like such and such YouTuber. You're like, okay, maybe not. But this is why I always say, I see you in the comment section, but I never see you at the bank. The financial stability that I have created with the way that I have approached YouTube has helped me enjoy the journey, avoid going out of business, invest in people, invest in technology and tools, and have the resources for long-term success, to have money to invest in my education, invest in health. So I want to encourage you, a focus on architecting a smart money plan, a smart business plan. That is not the topic of today's episode. If you do want to learn more about that and you have not watched my free on-demand class at thinkmasterclass.com, I want to encourage you, you can check that out. Link in the show notes down below. It's on demand, it's 1 hour long, and we'll go through the one strategy we use at Think Media to create this type of video, these evergreen types of videos that pay you passive income, 3 specific tips on that, and some of the different financial streams, like the different ways of earning money you can attach to these types of videos. Anyways, on demand, thinkmasterclass.com, link in the description down below. Number 8, pace. Balance the hustle for breakthroughs with rest and recovery needed to avoid burnout. So there's no doubt about it. You do need to hustle for breakthroughs. There's seasons of sacrifice, times when you got to hustle. But the key with having a sustainable pace is balancing seasons of hustle with seasons of rest and recovery so you don't burn out. I heard a quote that said, the problem with an unsustainable pace is that it's unsustainable. We joke about that all the time with our Think Media team. I'm like, well, the problem with an unsustainable pace is it's unsustainable. Are you in an unsustainable pace right now? When you think about working on your channel weekly, clocking in, clocking out at work, getting the to-do list of chores done at home, I think if you can self-identify that you're currently on a treadmill of an unsustainable pace, number 1, that's okay. We've all been there. Number 2, it's probably a season of sacrifice, and sacrifice is good. It's the price we pay to unlock the success we want in the future. But if it's an unsustainable pace, charting your off-ramp at this exact moment is super important. And I hope that if you're still listening to this podcast this deep, we're on a journey together to help you build something that lasts and to not burn out. Number 9, power. I like this one. These are lessons I've learned so you don't burn out. Here's what I mean by power. Develop and protect your inner drive so that you can continue to inspire and motivate yourself and those around you. Your inner drive, your inner game. Power. Well, there's a couple aspects to this. One is energy. So energy is the spark that gets things moving. It's the enthusiasm and passion that leaders bring to the table, and it has a contagious effect. If you're going to not burn out and stand the test of time, you've got to be someone who can generate your own energy, your own enthusiasm, your own passion that doesn't need somebody else to light your fire or spark your flame. When it comes to energy, there might be seasons, I've felt those where I'm like, I got nothing to give. I'm having a lot of difficulty right now of sparking my own flame, my own enthusiasm. That is a sign that rest is needed and that time off is needed. That if you're not in the zone, you're like, okay, cool, I'm not in the zone. Let me rest, and I know I'll be in the zone again in the future. Sometimes it's just giving yourself grace. Other times, it's maybe knowing that, okay, I've been burning the candle at both ends. I need to physically rest. I need to do some things. I need to have like a routine to get in the zone again. Conversations with inspiring people. reading inspiring things, getting hydrated, whatever it is. But the other aspect of power is not just energy. In an episode like this, I have to give full acknowledgement to my faith and the source and inner drive for me, which is my relationship with God and specifically Jesus Christ. And so I know that we have all kinds of diverse people that listen to this podcast, but if I'm sharing my lessons for how I've been on YouTube for 17 years and plan to keep going, building this Think Media thing, serving you in this podcast if you're getting value, you know, all this kind of stuff. I am not here if it's not for God's grace in my life, and specifically church, Bible reading, prayer. This is my source of power. Before we hit number 10, I want to encourage you, thinkmasterclass.com. If you're specifically wanting to learn how to create videos that rank and create passive income, because those are my favorite kind of videos that can help you build a sustainable career so you don't burn out. Not just chasing virality and trending content and going viral with the algorithm, but then you falling off and not knowing what to do next. Because in a way, 15 minutes of YouTube fame only lasts 15 minutes, but there is a way to approach YouTube over the long haul with a particular type of content called evergreen content, ranked videos. And so if you want to learn more about those, you can check that out at thinkmasterclass.com. And at the end of this episode, I have a few final questions for you that I think will bring all of this home. But let's hit number 10. Number 10 is patience. Understand that success takes time, and being patient so as to not get discouraged by setbacks. At the end of the day, I think that sometimes the reason why we burn out or we're not long lasting is we're just used to getting things quick in today's world. And today's world, it's faster than ever. It's like, if I look at Uber and it's like, is delayed 10 minutes, Uber Eats or something, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's even the point of trying? You know, we can literally hail cars now from our phones, or get news instantly, or videos instantly, or Amazon Prime is delivering same day, same hour in some cases. And so this whole idea of, I know we talked about the reasons people burn out, is a lack of profit or a lack of meaningful progress. The question is, how long are you willing to endure investing quality energy and quality outputs? Competition is highest for low effort content. So if you've tried YouTube, but like with a very mediocre investment, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. Okay, but have you really put excellence into it, or have you just been doing it? If you're putting excellence into it, you're making good videos, you're applying what we teach at Think Media, you're getting 1% better with every upload, you're continuing to invest in yourself and invest in your learning and improve your game and strategically think about it. If you're doing that, then the question is, how long are you willing to wait? What's your burn rate in terms of cash? A lot of our most successful students were like, I'm just not even depending on YouTube to make me money. I'm going to make a plan for my day job, optimize my day job, optimize my schedule, so that I can do YouTube on the side, because I do enjoy it. I am having fun. And whether it's year 1, year 3, or year 5, I have the fortitude and the patience to last. I want to encourage you, one of the conversations we had recently about starting a travel channel with Matt and Nat, I'll link to that in the show notes. They talked about, we're going to keep our day jobs and we're going to do this sustainably with the mindset that we're going to do this at an excellent level, knowing though that it won't pay us super well at the start, and that we mainly will be losing money even for years. See, even that hurdle is tough. It will burn you out. If all you see is that, okay, my YouTube channel is not earning money. In fact, it's costing money. It's costing time. It's costing energy, and I'm not seeing meaningful progress. The question is just, how much fortitude do you have? And what can you endure? One term for this is delayed gratification. See, we want gratification fast, and so oftentimes if it doesn't come fast enough, we give up. But I love this quote from Aristotle. It says this: patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. The price of sacrifice, the price of patience for months or even years, the price of leveling up and doing the reps necessary, the price of putting all of that in. YouTube is a marathon and not a sprint. A lot of people give up before the finish line. They give up because lactic acid builds up in their calves and in their core and in their body as they're running. So they give up. But the finish line of the medal and of achieving a feat that very few small percentage of people do, talking about physical marathons, pressing in on YouTube consistently over the years is tough. But I think having a mental fortitude, and that's why I share this in these 10 lessons, that it's a patience. It's I will until what? Until I get monetized, until I get 1,000 subscribers, until I get a breakout video. I will until. I'll keep learning, I'll keep trying, I'll keep practicing. And another one of our core values at Think Media is resilient spirit. And when I think about the one word that I think is needed for building an online business, a YouTube channel, is the word resilience. It's a better word than patience. Here's what resilience means. It's the ability to handle high stress over long periods of time. The capacity to withstand and recover from significant stress, adversity, or trauma. This is some true stuff. Handle high stress over long periods of time, YouTube. The capacity to recover from significant stress, certain seasons on YouTube. Adversity, setbacks, adversity in life. You've got personal issues, personal life stress, even personal trauma, could be online or offline. Question is, how quickly can you recover from those things? That's what resilience is. And resilience involves adapting well in the face of challenges and maintaining psychological well-being despite prolonged exposure to stressors. Man, I think about the last 17 years, and again, self-awareness. I don't think everybody or the majority of people should try to build necessarily what we have done at Think Media, but prolonged exposure to stressors of building a company and building it with my wife and building it with the pressures and the challenges and the stress and the adversity and the trauma that has come with that. Part of it is just resilience. And I actually heard a quote from Elon Musk's ex-wife. If that tells you anything, probably tells you a lot. But she's known as one of the hardest working guys, built multiple companies. But here's one of the things she observed about what it takes to be successful. And I would argue there's a lot to learn here if we're talking about building a long-lasting YouTube career and a YouTube career that stands the test of the time, an online business that stands the test of time. And here's what she said. She said, you need to learn how to handle a level of stress that would break most people because you are not most people. Reframe what you see as stressful. Expand your comfort zone and strive for achievement and excellence, not for drama and turmoil. Accept that problems and challenges will continue to come your way when you build your business, grow your audience, and push the boundaries of your potential. If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1 hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.
Anytime is the perfect time for an Oscar Mayer wiener.
I've had hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, for years. Painful bumps that come and go. I used to think, why me? My symptoms made me miss work, miss out with my kids. I said, enough. You are stronger than this. Keep fighting.
Take on HS differently with Cosentyx. It works from the inside to target a believed source of inflammation that may cause HS symptoms. Real people saw 50% reduction in bumps and abscesses after 16 weeks. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some are fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough. Add a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur.
I found help. I found relief. You're not alone.
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
Is it possible to make money from old content on your channel? Our guest earned $44,000 from a single YouTube video last year that wasn't even new content. Can you break down what the strategy was, what you did, and explain this?
You know, kind of the common advice that a lot of people will give on YouTube is don't make your videos too long. Well, this video was almost 3 hours long. It is difficult, right, to find time for content creation in sort of these fringe hours that you have. When I started, it was really just out of passion. And that's what I always tell people is that if you're going to do YouTube, you're going to work probably for a while for free.
You reached monetization in 9 months while working full-time. What were some of maybe the early challenges and also the key decisions that accelerated your growth? In today's episode of the Think Media podcast, we're also going to be covering how to earn more money from your videos, specifically the RPM, and how to earn 3 to 4 times higher than the average rates. And she's going to be breaking down exactly how, and also going through her simple content strategy that has earned over $500,000 in 4 years. And she did all of this while working full-time as a nurse without any fancy or extra fancy gear. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the essential mindset shifts for successful creators. Sometimes, whether it's negative comments, what other people may think, all of that can sometimes hold us back, and we will break through today on the podcast. Now, our guest, Jen, is a healthcare consultant by day and a YouTube powerhouse by night, who turned her passion for helping working moms into a channel with over 138,000 subscribers. Her practical cooking and lifestyle content has generated over $500,000 in just 4 years, all while maintaining her full-time career. From viral videos earning $44,000 in ad revenue to building a thriving community of working parents, Jen proves that with the right strategy, you can build a YouTube business alongside any career. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to go right up to what everybody wants to know, and that's the $44,000 video strategy. So you posted a video that wasn't new content, earned that much money from a single video. Can you break down what the strategy was, what you did, and explain this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just as surprised as you are or as anyone is. It was sort of an experiment, and it was kind of born out of me needing to get out a video and not really having a lot of time to film new content. And I had seen some other channels in my same sort of niche or space on YouTube making these compilation videos, right? So you take kind of one section of your cooking. In my case, it was budget meals. And I went back through all of my old content because I thought to myself, well, I've been doing YouTube for a long time. I have a lot of videos on my channel. And I think that a lot of times as creators, we think, well, if we posted a video 2 years ago, people have already seen that. But that's not true, right? Because you always have new people coming to your channel. And so what I was able to do is take a bunch of my old videos, kind of edit them and chop them up into one big mega compilation of budget cooking, right? Which was really big last year and the year before due to grocery prices and inflation and all of that. And you know, kind of the common advice that a lot of people will give on YouTube is don't make your videos too long. Well, this video was almost 3 hours long. And so I had no idea how it was going to be received, and it ended up just taking off. And so, you know, really it was kind of out of necessity, but I also wanted to try something new that I hadn't tried before.
So did you change the edits at all? So to break it down, you went into your library, you looked at different videos you had done related to budget cooking. You threw them back into the timeline of a video editor? Do you edit your own videos?
I did at that time, yes.
And so what software were you using?
I use Power Director.
Okay, so you take your old YouTube videos, put them all in Power Director. Did you just leave them or did you edit it up a little bit?
Yeah, I edited it up a little bit because a lot of those previous videos that I had done were sponsored videos. So I wanted to kind of take the sponsored portion out. And I also kind of listened through to see if there was anything that didn't really make sense. So I wouldn't say it was a huge amount of editing because obviously the content itself is already done. It's just kind of piecing it all together.
Okay, so minimal edit. Did you shoot any new content?
I think I shot an intro and an outro and the sponsored portion of the video, but that was it.
Nice. So the strategy for listeners is thinking about this idea of using compilations. We also have sometimes called these content marathons. We're launching a bunch of new ones right now because it's kind of logical. And I did the same. I shot new intros, new outros, new transitions. But there's a lot of times so much gold in our library that we can tap into and go a little bit deeper here. This singular video earned $44,000. Like, why do you think that is? And that's such an extraordinary amount of money from a singular video. 3 hours is probably helpful because of multiple ad spots. But if you look behind the scenes, what are some of the things you're seeing?
Well, I think, first of all, it was me kind of taking advantage of a current trend, right? Or like, what is a current problem that people are looking to solve on YouTube? They're looking for cheap meals and inexpensive ideas that they can use to feed their family. And so I think that the topic itself was able to kind of launch it into the algorithm. Now, another thing I want to say is that it didn't take off right away. Right. I think it took me a little over a year to reach 1 million views on that video, but it was slow and steady. And the great thing about that is that even now when I look in my YouTube analytics, even last month I earned $800 from that video, something I posted a long time ago. And so I think also, like you said, having the length of the video being longer allows YouTube to place all of those different ad spots in it. And then two, just having advertiser friendly content that is applicable to an audience such as mine, which are primarily 25 to 65-year-old women. They're the spenders in the house. They're the ones that advertisers want to advertise to. And so my content in general is very advertiser friendly, but I think particularly for that video, the demographics and the subject and everything just kind of lined up perfectly.
That's a great transition into this next question about RPM and how much individual videos earn. You mentioned in our pre-survey that you're getting 3 to 4 times higher RPMs than average. But before we even get that deep, can you break it down simply for listeners that are like, okay, what kind of insider language are we talking about here? What does RPM mean? So what is your understanding of how would you explain RPM to somebody who's brand new to YouTube?
Yeah, so RPM is revenue per mil, I think MILLE, which is per 1,000 views. So basically it's how much advertisers are paying per 1,000 views that you receive on your YouTube channel. And there's other things that go into that in terms of watch time. But, and when you say, it's funny because Sean, when you say, oh, you're getting 3 to 4 times the average RPM, I'm like, I don't even really realize what the average RPM is. Like, I've heard of $10 being average. I don't know that my RPM has ever been that low. I looked for 2024 and my RPM for the year 2024 was $27, which I understand is a bit higher, but I think that's just due to, like I mentioned before, having advertiser-friendly content. I really don't post controversial things, which I guess in the end might hurt me a little bit because I may not be getting that kind of clickbaity stuff that others are getting. If you make content that is, I don't want to say family friendly, but you know what I mean when I say that. It's kind of universal to a large group of people. You're not saying anything offensive. You have good retention in your videos. People, tend to watch till the end. Then in my experience, I've been able to kind of achieve those higher RPMs.
Man, that's incredible. And I think this is a good thing for listeners to be considering. I looked it up in Gemini, the AI that is owned by Google and YouTube, and it's all the same company. They say that the average RPM in the US is around $2 to $5 per 1,000 views. When you said 10, I was like, no, that's not average. 10 is really high. 10 is super good. If you're at 27, that's extraordinary. And I think that's a great strategy. Yes, when family friendly might sound like it could be such sanitized content, but it just means accessible to any audience. If you layer on stuff like profanity or violence or controversial topics, it's just going to limit how much advertisers want to advertise in your videos. You nailed it though. I think also when you spoke to like an age demographic and the spenders, I think one of the best ways to think about RPM is simply that advertisers want to get in front of somebody who actually has the purchasing power and interest to spend money on their product. And so it's understandable too why RPMs are higher in the United States than maybe in a developing country that wouldn't have the same buying power, or there's not even the shipping of that product, the infrastructure to get the product to the person. And so if somebody was after luxury goods or baby boomers were after financial products for investments, that's an entirely different audience in terms of the advertiser's perspective. And so that's really incredible that you're getting that. And then so if you break that down compared to what you're also just saying, not only do you have higher RPM, but if you also then do a longer video and you marry those two things together, 3 hours long. Now, when you put ads on that compilation, do you just let YouTube do it? Do you just check the box that says let YouTube place the ads, or do you go in and actually manually place ads on something like that?
On that particular video, I just let YouTube do it, and I do double check it before I make the video live. And when I went in there and looked at the timeline of the ads that YouTube had placed, it was like bing, 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 all throughout the timeline. I saw there was a bunch of ads, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. And obviously it looks a little different because it's a 3-hour video kind of squashed into this little timeline. But yeah, I just let them do it for that particular video.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so you said 1 million views, but even on 1 million views, right? It's a little over 1 million.
Yeah, I think it's 1.1 now, or yeah.
$44,000 is an insane amount of money for most channels. Like again, a $2 RPM would be 2 million or 2,000. It would be $2,000 on a 1 million viewed video. So to make $44,000 on a 1 million viewed video speaks to also how high the RPM is, plus the length, plus the volume of ads. So man, we came out fast on this episode of the Think Video Podcast, thinking about some ways. So if you're listening, think about how could you improve maybe the length of your content, maybe the target audience of your content. Doesn't even mean you need to change your niche, but who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to maybe an older audience that has credit card in hand potentially and actually has buying power? And if your content is not for them, that's also maybe why you're earning less, and it could influence your future strategy in terms of how much you make in ad revenue, and definitely try out the compilation strategy. Well, take us through your content planning process while working full time. To this day, you're still working full time?
Yeah, and I sort of feel like a unicorn in the YouTube space because I feel like everyone is wanting to get to that point where they can quit their job, and I financially, I've been making enough on YouTube now that I probably could have quit my job years ago, but I really have no interest in doing that. My career is really fulfilling to me, and I worked really hard for my education, and I get a lot of I get a lot of fulfillment out of my job. And so it's something that's really important to me to keep. Also, I do like the structure of having a regular paycheck. I like a 401k. I like health insurance, all of those things that come with a traditional job. But yeah, it is difficult, right, to find time for content creation in sort of these fringe hours that you have, especially when you're working a full-time job. I want to say one thing that helps me is that my kids are older now. So I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. Could I have done this when they were babies and toddlers? Scaled a YouTube channel while working full-time when I had a 2-year-old and a baby at home? Probably not, right? Also fair to mention is that I have a husband and we share pretty equally in the children's responsibilities. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm Superwoman and I can do things that other people can't. But it is a matter of just deciding that you're going to succeed and then planning your time around that.
This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is our go-to platform here at Think Media for live streaming to Facebook and YouTube and for recording our video podcast. It has an incredibly easy-to-use interface for built-in branding, transitions, text lower thirds, and seamlessly bringing on guests. And they just added an awesome new feature called local recording. This allows you to take the quality to another level by separating out your audio and video from your guests, giving you more control over your content for later use. This feature is perfect for video and podcast creators. And so to get a special deal on StreamYard right now and to see all the features that are included, just go to streamwiththink.com. That is streamwiththink.com. Man, it's an encouraging word. You know what's interesting is another Video Ranking Academy student that was just on the podcast wanted to keep Becky Park on Poshmark, wanted to keep her choir job, even though like YouTube actually, her job kind of became a side hustle and YouTube was kind of like the main thing. But what I love about that is while never want to even, YouTube takes a ton of hard work, patience, there is no guarantees. I love what you're saying. It's just possible. I think it's so possible to maintain your full-time job, love a full-time job, have some stability there, retirement there, but to also build this out on the side. Seasons of life, younger kids, maybe a little bit harder, but depending on your seasons of life, this is figure-outable. And really, I just want to encourage listeners like embrace your season, a little bit at a time. And while your results are extraordinary, $500,000, I just am so passionate about this like extra $5, $10, $15, $25,000 a year type of YouTube channel for a lot of people. And it's possible. And I want to go a little bit deeper because specifically then though, how do you do it? Like if you've got your working schedule, when do you film? Do you have daylight to film? Do you need lights? Like just if you kind of break us into like your routine.
Yeah. So typically so you mentioned in the beginning, I'm a nurse by background, but I don't work a traditional patient care job anymore. So I work more on the consulting side. So I do have kind of quote normal hours, 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. So that does help in terms of having a block of time on the weekends to film. And so one thing I want to encourage people to do, and this is dependent on your niche, but if you can do it, your life is your content, right? So you are the content, right? And so a lot of times what I would normally be doing anyway, which is going grocery shopping or cooking dinner for my family, that's something I'd normally be doing anyway, but I'm just filming it. Right. And so a lot of times I don't even have to set aside extra time. Obviously, there's times when I do kind of more involved videos and have to plan things out. But you don't have to do that, and people are looking for connection and relatability. They're looking to see the real you. They don't want a polished newscaster version of you. They want you in all your authenticity. And I think that by blocking time off, even if you do have a full-time job, it's possible, after your kids go to bed. Now, does it mean that you're never going to have downtime? Yeah, you're probably not going to have a lot of downtime. You're going to be working a lot. But for me, that was okay. And you mentioned also just having, even if someone can make an extra $2,000 a month on YouTube, right? That's really powerful. And my reason why, or kind of my motivation behind it is that I want to fully fund my kids' college education. Education is really important to me. I want to make sure that they kind of have that start in life. So being able to do that for them and then being able to take that extra money and do things like travel, take more trips, do things like that. So that's kind of my motivation behind it. I do try to plan my content out, but I'm also a huge procrastinator. So sometimes it's like best laid plans, but I'm lucky in that I've been able to build a really incredible audience of people who a lot of them will watch anything I post. Not all of them, right? But a lot of people I've built that relationship with over the years. And so kind of whatever I feel led to make a video about, they are interested in it.
That's really inspiring. And I love your vision of tying it back to a why, like the motivation to fund the kids' college education, freedom for your family to travel. I'm curious about two aspects of this, though. How long did it take you to get comfortable? Yes, you're already going to go grocery shopping. Yes, you're already going to be cooking for your family. But there's some listeners right now that are wanting to start their channel. They've been planning and thinking about starting their channel for a while. Well, they've gotten a few videos out, but it's so much brain fatigue to be like, if I'm cooking, oh, I got to set the camera up. Oh, did I do it right? And if they're cooking, if that was their niche, oh no, now I burnt it because I'm trying to think about cooking, but I'm learning this whole new skill set. It's like a different part of my brain. And how am I acting on camera? And I'm trying to focus on and then the same thing at grocery store. I'm filming in public. Oh, people are like looking at me. Jen said it was so easy, and I get it. But like, I'm trying to. So speak to like that learning curve, because I agree with you, especially eventually. Like, you are the content. So if you could just turn the camera on and deliver the hook in the middle and the outro, but what's like the learning curve to kind of get comfortable with filming in that day-to-day life? And how did you develop that back when you were starting?
Yeah, so I would say that in the beginning, voiceovers are your friend. You can set up a camera and do something in your kitchen, meal prep, cook a meal, whatever you want to do. And then, if you don't want to get too fancy, speed up the footage a little bit, chop it up, and then do a voiceover over it. And in fact, if I go back and look at some of my earliest videos, that's all they were. In fact, one of my first videos that hit over 1 million views, I never showed my face on camera. It was a meal prep video, and I just set the camera up and I cooked. And then when I put it in my editing software, I took the sound off and I talked over it, and I added a little bit of music. And that video also, hit over 1 million views. And so it doesn't need to be fancy. I think, like you said, a lot of people get intimidated with all of the gear and the fancy setups and the lights and the this and the that. And I always try to tell people, I bought a Canon G7X Mark II for $500, and I made over $500,000 with it. So, if you can do that, anything's possible. And same with going out in public. You can get your B-roll and then do a voiceover over it, because I will admit it was a transition for me also. I would say it wasn't until just the last maybe year or so that I was even comfortable going into a store and filming in public. And I still am very conscious. I don't want people to notice me. I'm not one of those people that's hold my camera out, and shouting in the middle of Walmart. But yeah, you kind of have to find what works for you. And once your comfort level goes up, you can kind of change your content around that if you want to get on camera more.
That's really great advice. In fact, that's probably one of the best strategies I've ever heard, doing voiceovers at the start or even now. Voiceovers are your friend, because rather than thinking you're going to also narrate some great video while you're in the kitchen, just so listeners understand, your goal is to just get the shots. Now that you have the shots, you're showing yourself cooking, you're showing the ingredients, you're showing the eggs being broken, and then you throw that all into a timeline, and now you actually have a chance to take a breath, be focused, and you're also, kids might be asleep, it might be dark, you're trying to be quiet, but you're just in your office. So now you're kind of in a different zone as you're going to put the video together. And in doing so, it's such a great format. You got 1 million views off of that format. And so I love that idea. And I also want to talk about editing. You mentioned that you edited the compilation last year, but it's something different now. Did you eventually delegate editing, or are you still editing?
So I actually just last month hired an editing service. So I'm kind of dipping my toe back into that. There have been times during my YouTube career that I have worked with an editor consistently. There was a time period of about 2 years that I worked pretty much, I was publishing a lot of content, like 3 to 4 videos a week. And so I had a dedicated editor that was helping me with that. It did become a little bit cost prohibitive. And so I stepped away from that. I don't know, I gotta say, the editing thing is really something that I am struggling with right now in terms of like, I know I can do it myself, but I could be so much more prolific with my content if I didn't. And so that's why I'm, hired a service and I'm going more back towards that. But I really feel strongly that when you're first starting out on YouTube, I don't know how you feel, but I personally feel like you should learn to edit your own videos. I think it gives you so much more appreciation for the process, and it really, I don't know. I mean, it can be really enjoyable, right? So I still enjoy editing my own videos. I just don't know if it's the best use of my time right now.
Yeah, that's some great advice. And I think people probably breathed a breath of fresh air hearing you to say you're struggling. I mean, you're so successful, and yet this is hard. And the seasons, you're juggling things. It takes work. Some people probably think, I wish I could afford an editor. But also even that's hard, because then it's working with them and it didn't work out. And then you feel like you wasted some money maybe. And so that could be a challenge. So then you pick it back up. And so thanks for sharing about just that. It's not just all smooth and unicorns and rainbows all the time. Sometimes there's challenges. And I would agree with you. The big idea around, if you are just starting and you learn to edit your own videos, kind of makes me feel like even an entrepreneur, I've heard advice from different mentors I've had that there's no way you could ever master every single thing in a business. It's nice if you've done it a little, which a lot of people do when they're starting. Like maybe your gift is not accounting and finances, but at least you've done it a little. Maybe your gift is not ultimately email marketing if your online business grows, but at least you understand open rates and you understand. And then same thing, maybe eventually you're going to delegate editing. But if you've never done it, it makes it easier to hire later, easier to understand, easier to know what you're looking for. And then for the storyteller, AKA the content creator, editing itself is kind of its art form. I think it helps you reinforce even how you communicate. I know listening to myself, I'm like, wow, I say a lot. Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. And so by editing my content, I think improved as a communicator. And I think there's something about embracing the lessons that every season teaches us. It doesn't have to be that way forever, but when you're wearing all of the hats, there's a lot of learning that can come from those various seasons. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I actually give that advice when I'm at work too. And I'm teaching kind of how to present and public speaking and facilitation. I tell people, I say, record your presentation and listen back to it. You're going to learn more doing that. And you can be critical of yourself and you might cringe a little bit, but in the end, like you said, it's going to make you a better communicator.
So I actually do want to go back to the beginning of your story early on when you got monetized, some mindset shifts, talking about even negative comments and sometimes, dealing with criticism and how you've done that. But before we get there, one of the things you have done is you've made it a priority and you've been intentional about building an email list, and you also have a freebie strategy. Let's go high level. Why, as a very successful content creator as well, did you make it a priority to build an email list? A lot of creators think about, okay, I want to get monetized, I want to get views. Why did you build an email list? When did you start it? What software and how did you even figure that out? And then we'll talk about the freebie strategy.
Yeah, so I want to say I started kind of the email list building, maybe it was in around 2019. And I started with MailChimp, which I did not enjoy. It was very confusing to me. And once I got to a certain point where I was getting more and more subscribers, you get more subscribers on your email list and they charge you more. And so at that point, I started looking into other options in terms of platforms, because I knew at some point, I wanted to do digital products and online courses and have a website and all that. So I ended up going with Kajabi, which I've been with them for several years now. I was able to release a course a couple years ago and kind of host that on their platform along with my website where I can post recipes, and then I can have my email list integrated there as well, which I find it all super user friendly. But in terms of building an email list, I think it's really important to have diversity in terms of where your audience is. And personally, I've seen a couple of, I wouldn't say necessarily friends, but acquaintances in the YouTube space that have gotten their channel taken down with no warning for whatever reason, whether it's a false copyright strike or someone hacks your channel or something. And so if your channel you wake up one day and it's gone for whatever reason, how are you going to get in touch with your viewers? Are they following you on Instagram? Or, do you have an email list? Things like that. And so that's kind of where I came from it, the angle that I came from it at. And then I also just wanted a way to be able to deliver free value to my viewers in terms of printed recipes. So a lot of times when people are watching a cooking video, what's the number one question they have? Where can I find these recipes? Where can I print these recipes? And so I knew that was a way to be able to kind of formalize that process in terms of like, okay, subscribe to my email list and I'll give you this free printable.
I love the vision, very intentional to build like a online business that's more holistic. We have used Kajabi for years as well, and it's really nice to have the all-in-one. And that was actually my same trajectory. A lot of people start with MailChimp because it's a good free way to start. You start building it, but then as you start looking down the road and you start looking at things like, oh yeah, if I am going to have a website and if I do want digital products and I do want, how did you decide for your niche what digital product to create and how was that experience?
I ended up creating a meal planning course, which I think it was about 2 years ago now that I did that. And I knew that I wanted something that was low ticket. So I want to say I sold it for like $29. Is it my best work? No. But did it force me to kind of get out there and do something different and sell a product that was mine instead of working with a sponsor to sell their product? Yes, and I want to do more of that in the future. And I think it's just like anything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so it was kind of, again, a little bit of an experiment for me, but then I also wanted the ability for my viewers to get more content from me that wasn't just on my YouTube channel, right? So that meal prep or meal planning course I created was all separate from my YouTube channel. It's all different new content. And so I kind of have a lot of ideas swirling around in my head about digital products and courses and memberships and all of that. But, there's only so much time in the day to make those come to fruition.
And to be clear, your freebie strategy, you mentioned it, but this is because you have recipes. The way that people can get the printable recipes is by joining your email list. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yeah. I just set up a super simple landing page. They put their email list in and boom, it takes them to a page where they can just download the PDF of all of the recipes. Yep.
That's awesome. So it's so cool to think through how it ties into and supports your content, is supplemental, a different way of consuming it. And in doing so, it also then helps you diversify your audience. And then speak a little bit to like description box optimization, like just how thoughtful. I think that sometimes a mistake we can make is not making it explicitly clear the steps people can make to get to our page or get the thing. Or sometimes even worse is we try to do that. But when I'm doing channel reviews and like our communities and stuff, sometimes I'll click on links and I'll be like, this is a dead link. Or it goes, and you think, some people are like, I'm not sure why my email list isn't growing. You're like, well, there's no link to it. And when I click the link you thought there was to it, the link doesn't work. I mean, that might be thing one to fix. So this stuff could be overwhelming. But if you think through that process of transitioning, actually a lot of our listeners do want to get leads and they want to build an email list and they may just think that people are going to magically get there, but there might be some steps. How do you think about it in terms of like articulating it in your video and helping people make it all the way on to being subscribed?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and if you're just listening, you're not seeing me, but right now I'm holding up a cookbook, a printable cookbook. And if you can show this in your video and show kind of how you're using it, like, oh, this is the recipe. People are like, oh, I want that. I want that because some people do, like myself personally, I'm an elder millennial who loves stuff on paper, right? Even if you don't like stuff on paper, you could still put the PDF on your iPad and use it there. So I think if people see you using the freebie in your video, you just direct them, go down to the description box, click on that link, the call to action, I think, and I think it depends a lot on your audience, but I feel like most of my viewers now are sort of familiar with the description box. I say a lot in my content, hey, you know, I'm using this knife. I love it. I got it on Amazon. I'm going to link it in the description box below. So, you know, I say that a lot in my videos, because if I don't, people will ask me in my comments for the links. I need the link for this. I need the link for this. And so not only is it a way to, you know, build your email list, make affiliate income, but it's also just better. It's a better experience for your viewers, right? Because when people see you using things and they don't have that, they want to get that. And the easier and more seamless you can make that for them, the better off it is for everyone.
Such great advice. And the front half of this podcast has been packed with a lot of tactics that could take us to the next level, even some more advanced stuff. But I do want to now take it back in kind of this final section for when you were starting and lessons we could learn early on. Maybe we've already been doing this for years, but we're not monetized yet, or we're still having some challenges. If we go back to the beginning, you reached monetization in 9 months while working full time. What were some of maybe the early challenges and also the key decisions that accelerated your growth?
So I think the first thing to remember is, or when I think about back to kind of those early days, I never started off wanting to even make $1,000 on YouTube. I really had no idea of how the monetization system worked. I mean, I knew that you could make money on YouTube. Did I even dream that I would be able to do that? Not really. I mean, I thought in the beginning, I thought if I can make an extra $800 a month and pay for my family's groceries, how awesome would that be? Because it's like I have a hobby and I'm getting paid for my hobby and it's paying for my family's groceries. You know, I was thinking like really small. And so when I started, it was really just out of passion. And that's what I always tell people is that if you're going to do YouTube, you're going to work probably for a while for free. And so you better be liking what you're doing. Don't go into a niche that you don't like or aren't passionate about just because you think it has a high RPM or something like that, right? It'd be like if I knew that, oh, well, finance has, pays a lot. And so, no, I'm not passionate about finance, right? I don't want to teach people about finance. I don't want to relate to people about finance. And so I think choosing something that you're passionate about and also just experimenting, right? Especially take that time in the early days of your channel and try different things. You know, you don't have to be laser focused, niche down right away. What really helped my channel is just experimenting with different kind of buckets within the home cooking space, right? So I started posting meal prep videos and those just took off, right? And so once I figured out kind of what was working and what people wanted to watch, then I doubled down on that content, right? Then I think, oh, people want to watch meal prepping. I'm doing a meal prepping video every week, you know? And so every week people know they're going to come back and they're going to get that meal prep video. Oh, people really like Costco hauls. Okay, I can do one of those a month, you know? And so I think just kind of experimenting with different things and then also really knowing what the trends are at the time. When I was first starting out, the keto diet was like huge. It was keto, low carb was everywhere. And I was kind of doing it here and there. And so I started posting keto videos and those started taking off. So I think it's a combination of just experimenting, knowing what your audience wants to watch, and then also kind of what are the trendy topics that are being searched right now on YouTube.
Some really powerful insights we can all apply. And one of the things you also mentioned was a mindset shift related to negative comments. What was your experience with that? Was it unexpected, worse than you expected? And I know this, a lot of listeners, I think there's many fears that hold us back from maybe pressing record in the first place. We might be thinking about somebody we went from high school with that bullied us, and that's probably not thinking about us, but like, what are they going to think? What are people in my hometown going to think? What's my family going to think? Am I going to be criticized for this thing or that other thing?
You know, at the end of the day, anyone that's interacting with your video, whether they're leaving a positive or a negative comment, that means they watched at least part of the video. You know, they're putting views and money in your pocket. What's the thing you always say about going to the bank?
Yeah, I always see them in the comments, but I never see them at the bank.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, just being able to understand that if that person was standing right here in front of you, or you were sitting at a table with them having coffee, they would never say these things to you, right? The reason why some people say these things is because they can do it without any repercussions. They're an avatar, they're a username behind a screen. And that's all it is, right? They're not your friend, they're not your family, they're not your teacher, they're not your spouse, they're not anything to you, right? And so opinions are, I was probably going to say an inappropriate quote, but inappropriate quote, but I won't say it, but everyone has an opinion, right? And that doesn't mean it's right. But I think, some of those, some people really will get to your insecurities. I actually ended up getting braces a couple of years ago because so many people commented on how my teeth were crooked, right? And so, I guess at the end of the day, I took my extra money that I made from YouTube and went to the orthodontist and
the hater paid for your braces.
I guess. And I don't want to make it sound like it's all negative, right? Because the negativity can be really loud, but when you step back and objectively look at it, and I think about how many comments am I getting every day that are so positive? Thank you for your content. Thank you for being relatable. Thank you for being there. I just had a lady tell me the other day that, she had a really hard time in her life and my videos are what helped get her through it. That kind of stuff, that's what matters, right? Not like the very vocal 1% that's critiquing you on whatever. Look at your like ratio. It's probably 98%. And so I think it's a combination of just being true to yourself, knowing that you can't take those things personally because those people don't personally know you. And then just looking at it objectively, there's a lot more positive than negative.
That's all really encouraging. And I know sometimes comments still get to me. It gets better, but they still get to me. That's kind of like, hazard pay, I suppose. Like different jobs have different things that just come with the territory. And the sheer nature of putting something out on the internet, trying to not take it personally, because you're exactly right. They don't know you personally. I actually heard one person say, if they can't text you the criticism, then ignore it.
Ooh, I love that. That's great advice.
It's really good. Yeah. It's like, we should be open to constructive criticism, especially if we're doing something that's, harmful and so anyone who speaks the truth and love to us that's so powerful. But for them to actually have the context to know us, that's who we should be listening to. People are just zooming by on a snapshot. And to your point, we might see the haters in the comments, but we never see them at the bank. Like sometimes just the sheer nature of your content's being consumed is a positive thing. And the way that ad revenue works, it just helps move everything forward. A couple final questions here. I'm curious what the biggest impact of this success has been on your family, but even how you've transformed personally. I think a lot about the fact that silver play button, over 100,000 subscribers, $500,000 earned plus, there's those achievements and accolades, which are incredible. I also think about you can't do YouTube at the level you've done it without experiencing some personal transformation. We really kind of have to become new people in the process. And I'm just wondering what that experience has been like and how it feels now as you reflect on your journey of the impact on your family and on you personally.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Sometimes I just think to myself, I run a business. I have a business. I'm a CEO of a business, right? And so that in and of itself is just wild to me because like I told you, when I first started, I thought, if I can pay for my groceries, that's fine. But to run a multiple six-figure business it's mind-blowing, right? And I've learned so much about, not just about online business, but about taxes and payroll and all of that stuff that you really don't want to learn about, but you kind of have to out of necessity. And I think just overall, it has really done a lot for my confidence to do something and do it successfully. And I have to remind myself not to compare myself to other people because sure, there's a lot of YouTubers who are way more successful than I am. I was just thinking the other day, well, I'm never going to get to 1 million subscribers. But then I thought, so what if I do? And what if I don't? I can be happy in this current moment with what I have and I think, so yeah, I think owning a business, increasing my confidence. And then also, I'm just really proud of the community that I've been able to kind of cultivate with my viewers. I really value authenticity. And so I don't ever sugarcoat anything. Like you were mentioning earlier about burning something in the kitchen. I show all that because that's going to happen, right? And at the end of the day, people just want to know you and relate to you, and learn something useful in the process.
It's such powerful stuff. I have one final question for you, but before I ask that, shout your stuff out. If people want to connect with you, check out your channel, anything you want to promote, and I want to make sure everything's in the show notes for you and for the listeners. But yeah, where can people follow with you, connect with you?
Yeah, so you can just search my name, Jen Chapin, Chapin on YouTube. Funny story, there's actually another Jen Chapin who is Harry Chapin, who is a singer, his daughter. That's not me. That's not me. I don't sing on YouTube. But if you search my name, you'll find my channel and lots of cooking videos. If you are wanting to figure out how to get dinner on the table for your family in a way that is accessible and easy and a lot of times budget friendly, check out my channel. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle over there is just @Jen Chapin. And then also in the show notes, there's going to be a link to download a free e-cookbook. So it's called the 1 Hour Freezer Fix. And basically I share with you how to take a shopping list of grocery ingredients, and you can prep 5 meals for your family in 1 hour. And it's only around $65. So you're going to have dinner for your family for the week for under $100, and your kids are going to like the recipes too. So,
man, what a valuable resource. As a newer dad of a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, I'm excited to check that out. And thank you for adding so much value on the podcast today. This final question is, if you were going to tell somebody who's watching this, who's working full time, but they're thinking they can't do this, or they're just thinking about self-doubt and a little bit overwhelmed, what would be some of your final, maybe inspirational insights and maybe some action steps that you would encourage them to take?
I think it's really important to think not about what you can't do, but think about what you can do, right? And a lot of times when you have a full-time job, you have to be really productive in those pockets of time that you have. So whether that's the 2 hours after your kids go to bed, or an hour before they get up in the morning, or even on the weekends when you have a longer block of time, when I think about my schedule, I think of all of that time that I'm not working as opportunity, right? So either it's an opportunity to spend time with my family, an opportunity to further my business, and an opportunity to, maybe have some self-care time. That's kind of how I look at it. And if you are persistent enough and you are consistent enough and you want it bad enough, you will find time to do it, even if it's in those small pockets of time.
Jen, thank you so much for adding value. And Think Media podcast community, thank you for listening today. If you got value, smash like and rate, share, review, subscribe wherever you watch or listen to the Think Media podcast. My name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel, and I'll connect with you in a future episode.
Asana, it's easy to monitor projects across teams and track status and progress at a glance, so you and your team can make smart decisions faster. Try it for free at asana.com.
Mouth-watering? For sure, it's Hillshire.
Crafting a compelling personal brand not only helps you rise above the noise, but also builds trust and significantly increases your earning potential.
And so I think it's really speaking on your truths rather than claiming to know the truth.
How do I stand out in a crowded marketplace? You stack these 5 questions, these personal brand elements, and you dial these in, you're different.
Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others.
So in this video, you'll gain insights from seasoned experts who've each built million-dollar empires by harnessing the true power of personal branding. Hey, what's up? Sean Cannell here, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. And in this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're talking about personal branding and bringing you some of the best advice from our previous episodes of the podcast, plus some new unreleased material that's going to give you actionable insights for building your personal brand. Now, today's episode is brought to you by 21videotips.com, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Let's dive into the tips.
Switching from how to how I. So how to build a massive social media following to how I built the following that I have. Feel a difference? It's really small, but really big in terms of how people interpret your message. You're pulling back and saying like, hey, like, I hope this serves you in some way. Like, this is like me opening the kimono. This is stuff that's working right now for me. Whereas the other way, you're at the pulpit commanding, giving demands and commanding people. And I just don't think people like that. I mean, how many people, their entire Instagram feed is people shaking their finger at you, right? It sucks. I hate it, right? And so I think it's really speaking on your truths rather than claiming to know the truth. Who here makes the content because they want to become famous and feel good about themselves? Ooh. Or who here is making stuff because they want it to be received and help the audience? Right? And so the thing is you have to feed them and not you. And I think if you can make that shift, I think, in my opinion, it will be more effective.
You got to figure out that special thing, and that what's cool is God has woven into your DNA something unique, something that's just a little bit different, your secret superpower. When I really started to get clear on that, my YouTube results skyrocketed. And for me, that was, I posted this video after experimenting and struggling and posting all kinds of different videos. I started to get clear that, man, I've been doing video for like years. And I started video in my local church. And one of the things I noticed was my competitors were video experts, but they taught really complex. Like they taught over people's heads. And so I started thinking, okay, how do I make complex things simple and make, instead of saying like the bokeh, what? No, how do you get the blurry background in your video, make it blurry behind you and make it look good? Oh yeah, that's what I want in my videos. And boom, and when I started to actually understand the unique pain points of YouTubers, not of filmmakers, not of wedding videographers, but of YouTubers, I started finding a USP. Well, here's a framework of how you can do it. So it's at the intersection of number one, what does the customer want? What does the customer want? What does the viewer want of your content? What do they actually want? What are their desires? Here's another good question for this first one. What does the customer hate? Now, the next one though is what does the competition lack? So I noticed the competition actually lacked YouTube-specific pain points. To this day, I'll search like what's the best camera, and I'll find these ranked lists, and I'll see cameras that are recommended that don't have selfie screens. If you're a solo creator, that is not a good camera recommendation and for YouTube content. If it doesn't have good autofocus, like you don't want to be out there trying to figure out what the autofocus is. Like these seem obvious, yet they'll still make it into people's lists. Those people are wrong. That's just the way they're like, they don't understand. And why would there be a dissonance? And how did I carve out an advantage? A deep understanding of how I could be different than the competition, because they're not connecting with the YouTube specific knowledge, like selfie screen, autofocus. But then also, what do you do well? So you also might be saying, another one on the competition is, what is the competition strong at? So what is the competition, like if every battle is won before it's even fought, then I might not even go down one direction. I would avoid a lot of battles. In fact, this is another Sun Tzu quote, avoid unwinnable battles. Pick winnable battles. Now you're like, it's overwhelming. I get it, but the key is like, if you have no prayer of winning, it's like if you start a new soft drink, you're not gonna be like, you know what my goal is? I'm taking Coca-Cola down, you know what I mean? Like, bro, you're confident, and I know we said we really like confidence here at Grow a Video, but there's no chance, bro. Like, you're not taking Coca-Cola down. That'd be an unwinnable battle. But yet, niche soft drink companies pop up all the time. You're watching the Super Bowl. Is it called Poppy? Is it called Poopy?
What's that? You know the little drink, the new house, healthy, it's less sugar, it's soda redefined. It's an entirely different thing. My wife actually loves like Coca, I believe Coca-Cola. She doesn't think Poppy is soda. She's like, what even is this? And I'm more, amen. Someone's over there like, what, where's the world going? I mean, this is really, but that's a winnable battle because they're creating a new category. So you think about, okay, what is the competition strong that's not worth competing with? What's the competition lack? What are their strengths? And then what do you do well? So then what are some things that you can lean on? I leaned on my experience in that I started YouTube originally with a channel for my church in 2007. I'd been in YouTube, I met some people, happenstance, met this guy named Benji at the YMCA and started getting more exposure. And so I just had been in this YouTube world, so I niched down into that particular area, and it's at the intersection of these three that is your USP. Now this is probably worth taking a picture of or drawing out on your notes, and the next slide is definitely worth taking a picture of because it's gonna go fast and it's gonna be way too overwhelming, and I want you guys talking in just a second here. But let's layer another thing on top of this, and this is your personal brand USP. So this last one, I'm gonna go back and then we'll go back. So your business should figure out your business's positioning, and of course you could apply these things to your personal brand. But for a lot of us, we're starting individual YouTube channels, or we're starting individual brands on video, and so we're building personal brands. What are the makeup of a personal brand? There are these different elements like your talents and your values and your beliefs and your passions and your personality and your unique qualities and your skills and your background and all of this. And obviously we can't unpack all of this. This is the kind of stuff and the kind of work we do in our program, and something I'll be telling you about tomorrow. But ultimately, screenshot this, because now, how do I stand out in a crowded marketplace? You stack these 5 questions, these personal brand elements, and you dial these in, you're different.
If I'm ready to reveal myself and say, you know what, I'm ready to have a real conversation with people, what I would do is show up just like this, wherever we are, and say, okay, guys, I've realized something. I've been showing up a certain way, and I have to confess to you, I'm not wearing pants. They stand up and they're wearing shorts. And let me take the camera. I'm just going to turn it the other way. So on this side of the camera, it looks like this. On the other side, unmade bed, there's a bowl of cereal, a dirty pot. So I'm just going to show you, really, this is what it's about. I show up like this because I want you to see me as a professional. But moving forward, I'm going to start revealing more of myself. I hope you're along for the journey. And if this turns you off, I appreciate the time you spent with me. And if you want to see more, let me know in the comments. And this is what I'm going to do because it's for me and it's not necessary for you. And here's the weird thing. It's my prediction. If you do it in a genuine way, maybe you get a little bit of coaching, then people are going to really say, thank God, finally somebody's doing it, and it's going to go against the grain, and that will be the thing that breaks through. And that's really what you want anyways. It's like you're inviting people quite literally into your home so that you can have a conversation with them. And they're going to feel so much more connected on a heart level, not on a brain level, to you. That's going to be really meaningful.
Most people have this big glaring sign above their head before they can even turn on the volume of their brain, which is, why should I listen to you? And so I tend to lead with proof. Prove that you know what you're talking about. You give people a reason to believe you. The promise is to tell them what they're going to get or learn from the video. And the plan sets the expectations of what will happen next.
You have to become a student of the game. So if you want to become a great director, you need to read screenplays, you need to watch films. And what people do is they borrow a little bit and they think they got it. My children are like this. When I try to explain them how to do something, they want to take the shortcut. They just want to skip all over the steps and just no, I got it, Dad. And then when they produce something, they're like, yeah, see, that didn't work because you didn't follow the directions. And people are like this. We think we're smarter than we really are. It takes a lot of patience, dedication, and believe it or not, intelligence to do really great forgeries. Some of the great forgers are very high IQ people. They pay attention to crazy amounts of detail. So you need to do that for a period of time so that you can get a feel for the words, get a feel for how to frame a shot or how to light a scene before you can go out and do your thing. I have this feeling, and I don't think I'm alone in this, that movies and books are messages from the past to our future selves so that we can learn from them to save ourselves from a lot of pain. But many of us are so stubborn, our eyes are not fully open. And so when these messages come to us on screen, we laugh, we cry, and we move on with our life and we forget there's a powerful lesson here.
I suck at marriage advice. I suck at, giving happiness advice. I suck at whatever. but I'm really good at making high returns in the stock market, how much more believable is that than I make really good returns in the stock market, and I'm really good at marriage, and I'm real, and. When you admit your deficits, whatever comes after the admission of guilt or the admission of deficiency is believed more. So if I say, hey, I really suck at a lot of things, but you're going to believe whatever I say right here, that's a sentence structure for persuasion. And you can use that in all of the content that you have forever. It's also great for negotiating. And so, anyways, I say all this to say, it's the path that lies behind you, not the path that lies in front of you, that will give you the certainty that you want to gain the influence you desire. And so my evolution for me was fitness first, and I just talked about this is what's worked for me. People are like, Alex, how do you eat Twizzlers and cookies all day and have a six-pack? And I'm like, A, genetics. B, I live at a gym. And C, I eat this way. Right? And people were like, oh, so I can have cookies too and have a six-pack. And I was like, yes. And that was relevant for me. Some people are like super vegan superstars. Awesome. And they're going to talk what was relevant for them. And the people who follow will be like, I vibe with that. Cool. Right? And so I'm not going to be the best nutrition expert in the world, but in terms of like my little fiefdom, I can rule that. Right? And then I moved up because I started doing well there. And people started asking me, hey, how are you growing your gym? I was like, well, this is how I grew my gym. People were like, well, what about business in general? I'm like, I don't know. I've never ran an e-commerce business. I don't know about manufacturing. I don't know about software. I don't know about any of that stuff. But I know how to grow a gym. So I only talked about that. And the amount of people that was relevant for, this many. But for that audience, everything. Right? I mean, and just for context here, there are riches and niches. Like, that company made a lot of money. Just saying, like it made a lot of money and it didn't make me famous at all. And so again, the question is, do you want to be rich? Do you want to be famous? Are you trying to serve you? You're trying to serve the audience.
You make a living from the problem you solve, but you make a life from the passion that you chase.
That's good. Really good.
Like if you make money and you just make money, eventually you're burnt out. That's a great place to start because you got to pay the bills. Like you need money to be able to do stuff. Yeah. But then ultimately you got to chase the passion. And it's not just like this fires me up, but also what pisses you off? Mm-hmm. What breaks your heart? Like what makes you cry? What makes you look at it in the world and you go, I'm not okay with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not comfortable with that. I won't accept that. We believe that is God's divine design of your humanity, that what breaks your heart for a reason, because you were created to do something about that problem. And your real magic will come from living in the passion, but you have to earn your right to get there first.
That was one of my top things ever said on the show.
So when you look at what you're good at, what you love, what pays well, and what the world needs, you find this really interesting cross-section. Now, the more dimensions you have, the harder this thing becomes, right? 2 dimensions, easy to find the overlap. So in the Venn diagram, there's 4 circles. Like the question of what the world needs is really important. And speaking for myself here, when I made commercials for a living, I got paid a lot of money. So I was good at it and it paid really well, but didn't really feel do I love doing this? Do I love clients telling me like, make it bigger, or can we try 4 more versions of the same thing? No, not really. Put that aside. So I go to teach, something I really love and I'm also good at, but they don't pay jack for that. So I can have a full or filled, have a sense of fulfillment, but I'm going to be broke doing this. And so I struggle with these 2 worlds. I thought you quite literally had to leave one world, the business world, to go in to join the academic world, and the 2 cannot intersect. So a friend of mine, I hope I'm going to answer your question. A friend of mine is like, hey, Chris, I know you're really passionate about education. Why don't we just make content on YouTube and then build a knowledge product, and that way you can teach and do it sustainably and we can do this. I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. That seems crazy. Well, we know how that turned out because we're like 2,000 videos in, so many subscribers later. I found that intersection. So the world needs high quality education from people who've been there and done it before, and that are passionate, that have a skill for teaching and entrepreneurship and know how to make videos and do storytelling. I found that intersection, and so I think I found my reason for being. And it's going to be different for each person.
Here's the whole secret to personal branding in one sentence, and This is not a Rory Vaden quote. I wish it was. But there was a guy named Larry Winget who told me this early in my career. And Larry said, the goal is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others.
There you go.
Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And when you go look at someone's social media profile and you go, I don't know what this person does. They haven't clarified their uniqueness. They're not clear about the role they play in the world. And this ties more to just personal brand. It's not social media and it's not logos and colors and graphics. It's your purpose, right? It's being clear about how can I serve? How can I be of value? So many people are trying to find their purpose. And I think the wrong question is, don't ask, what's my purpose? That's the wrong question to ask. Instead, ask, who can I serve? How can I be of value? And as you get clear on that, that is your uniqueness. Our lives have meaning in the context of our relationship with others. And there's nothing like the feeling you get when you serve another person.
There's a lady, I forget her name now, but she blew up on TikTok because she was like, these are ugly logos. I'm going to redraw them. And she purposely redraws them really bad. She takes global recognized logos designed by masters and she just punks everyone and does it. And I'm watching these videos. At first I thought it was serious. I'm like, do not change the type. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. And she's getting a reaction from people like me who are like, how dare you touch that logo that you should never touch? And she's doing these and it's blowing up. Now, famous established brands are like, do us next, and they pay her to do that. So the question you should be asking yourself is, how do I compete against Chris? No, how do you do it in the way that feels true to you, based on your gifts, based on your height, your skin color, your tone of voice, whatever it is, your shape, your size, your quirks. Like, if you like doing puppets, why don't you teach me designing logos with puppets? I can't do that. You can freestyle rap, do that, teach it that way. There's room, there's so much room. And I find it quite fascinating that in the society that we live in today, there's so many very narrow niches that turn out to be much bigger than we think. There are people who do dance videos for a very specific type of dance. And there's ones that will do it for kids. So that even in the same genre, they do it a little bit different. Or the ones who wear costumes, or ones that wears the mask, or who adds laser lights to it. Do it your way.
The people that you trust the most in your life, like if you just made a list, who do you trust the most? It's going to be people that you see most often, and it's going to be the people you know the best. You know what they like to eat. You know where they live. You know their kids' names. You know where they go. You know who their friends are. You know what they do for fun. Like, you know how they spend their time on their weekends. And then the other one is that we trust people that we learn from.
Ooh.
And that becomes the big door opener for the business aspect of all of this, but not to discount the personal sides. Those things really matter.
I say go to the supermarket, preferably one that's highly curated, because they only pick the very best designed products in the world, right? Because they can shop from anywhere. You can go to Whole Foods and Erewhon, what is Adina DeLuca? You can go into one of those shops and like, oh, okay, go through the aisleway. Find something that speaks to you. Find a package of like a food product that you like. You're like, oh, I like this. I like the typeface. I like the colors. I like the visual language. I like that it's impressionistic painting or it's a geometric Memphis style illustration. I like the patterns. I like the way they write and the words and everything about it I like. Take that thing home. Unpack it, lay it out flat and say, okay, I'm going to be a master designer now. Pick apart the elements. I wonder what typeface that is. Well, there's an app for that. Just shoot it with your phone and identify the typeface for you. Oh, that is Rockwell. Boom. Okay, great. Rockwell semi-bold. Okay, and are they using all caps or upper lowercase? What parts of this do you like? I like this shade of pink, that shade of green, and a little hint of metallic gold. Understand the ratio of how they're using it. It's just a little bit of gold, lots of pink, and some green. So it's like a 70-25-5 ratio. So when you're designing your thumbnails, think about the 75-25. What kind of illustration style is this? Try to figure that out. Now you can teach yourself design and art. So we're not so good at invention, but we're really good at replicating. When you're in art school, the way that you learn to draw is you literally copy the masters. And as close as you can determines your ability to draft. So you might look at a Da Vinci drawing or a Michelangelo or something, and you're like, okay, how did they interpret the lighting? Oh, Caravaggio did it this way. Okay, you just keep doing that, and then you start to learn. And through the process of absorbing their technique, as a human, you can't help it but to inject some of your thing into it. If you do this enough, eventually it becomes this weird hybrid new thing that becomes your voice. So you'll never be able to replicate it perfectly. That's okay. Get really close, and you'll see your thumbnail game, your design sensibility go really, really high. If you practice this throughout the rest of your life, when you go to a hotel and there's a really good menu, study it. Take a couple of pictures, do the same thing. When you go to a store or boutique and you pull something out, don't just look at the garment, look at the hang tag. Look at how they package it.
Question for you. Are you ready to get serious about your social media education so that you can grow your influence and your income faster? If you'd say yes, then I think you're going to love our video marketing cheat sheet that's available for free at 21videotips.com. We've condensed the best tips and strategies that top entrepreneurs and content creators revealed at our past Think Media events and have put them into one masterclass and free download. Inside of this resource, you're going to learn from top experts like Alex Hermosi, Patrick Bet-David, Cody Sanchez, Dave Ramsey, Gary Vaynerchuk, Pat Flynn, Shalene Johnson, and more. And you can get it for free at 21videotips.com or just click the link in the description. All right, let's jump back into the video.
People are more likely to trust someone who has an established personal brand. They're more likely to work for somebody. They're more likely to recommend them. They're more likely to pay a higher price for the same service from someone with a personal brand. They're even more likely, 30% of Americans say they're more likely to date someone who has an established personal brand than someone who doesn't. So it matters, and it matters not because of trends. It matters because of trust. What people don't understand about personal branding is that personal branding is not about social media and number of followers and subscribers and likes and websites and all of this stuff. Those are all sort of tactical expressions. In a more fundamental way, what people need to understand is that personal branding is simply the digitization of reputation. The digitization of reputation. And so reputation is about trust, right? Not just how do I get the most followers? How do I get the most likes? How do I go viral? You can do that with a dancing video. You can do that with gimmicks, but that kind of thing maybe doesn't get you trust, right? In order to build a business, we have to have trust. And what's powerful about the tools of the day, certainly YouTube, podcasting, social media included, is that the tools of the day allow us to automate trust at scale if you're really good at it.
I don't think a personal brand really has a sell-by date. Personal brand business might have a sell-by date, whereas you end up wanting to stop. But that doesn't mean that the work that you've created through that career won't stick around forever as well. I mean, one of my biggest kind of mentors I'd never met was a guy called Zig Ziglar. He was an American author and speaker. And, like I said, never met Zig. I've met 2 or 3 people that have worked with him. I've had the opportunity to interview his son, who now runs Ziglar Enterprises and all the rest of it. But you look at Zig, he passed away years ago, yet his personal brand is still quite synonymous with success and sales, particularly. And there was something about his way of, talking and explaining and motivating that it's very hard not to appreciate that kind of the life that kind of person's living. And that's the reason why, to this day now, his books still sell. People are still talking about him.
Probably pick up the Brand Flip from Marty Neumeyer. Let's see what other brand books. I mean, if you just read Brand Flip, you'd do really well for yourself. It's not 100% like practical steps, but it'll give you a really good high-level overview. Part of brand is being a good storyteller. So I would tell you to read How to Tell a Story by the Moth Group, and probably Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. So you understand the concepts of brand. Now you need to tell story. And there's probably a book you need to read about customer experience, user experience, and culture. I would tell you to read Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. The 3 of them make a pretty deadly triangle.
We sometimes call this the law of the frequency. And if you think about a radio station, okay, you could have 2 radio stations playing the exact same song at the exact same time, right? So these two stations are playing the exact same song at the same time, but an individual person can only be impacted by one of those radio stations. Why? Because you can only be tuned into one frequency at a time. And so even if you were, verbatim saying something that somebody else said, it still would be powerful because they can only hear it from you, because they only have access to you. Now, so part of your uniqueness on one hand, it's going, you can share the principles that have always been shared because they're only going to hear it from you because they only have access to you. If there's somebody listening who is like, doesn't look anything like Tony Robbins, you go, Tony Robbins could say it 100 times, but because they don't like him, they don't like his voice, they feel like he's too energetic, they go like, he's not my guy, even though he teaches that principle. Meanwhile, you go look at somebody like Brene Brown and you're like, oh, she could say the same thing, and now all of a sudden it connects. It's in a different way. Now, on the surface, that kind of looks like not uniqueness. That looks like it's the same message delivered through a unique messenger. So the messenger themselves is a part of what makes it unique, is you living into more of you. I love that Sally Hogshead talks about how the way that you differentiate yourself is not by looking at what everyone else is doing and asking, how can I be different? It's by leaning into more of who you already are. And that's what I think uniqueness looks like. It's your stories, your anecdotes, your strategies, your techniques. In the part one of this interview, Sean, we shared the focus funnel. The focus funnel is a technique, a strategy, a framework that I created out of my head. The TED Talk went viral. It's about how to multiply time. I wrote a book on it, Procrastinate on Purpose. Well, lots of people have written books about productivity. Lots of people have written books about time management. Lots of people have written books about delegation and systems, right? So it's not that I'm saying something that has never been said before. It's that I'm saying it in a way that only I can say it. And the way that I'm saying it is, if you want the focus funnel, you have to hire Rory Vaden. If you want someone to come teach that, you have to hire Rory Vaden, or you got to hire someone that has licensed that intellectual property from Rory Vaden. You can't get it anywhere else. Why? Because it's out of my freaking head, right? So and that's what matters. And I think as we enter into a world of AI, it includes both the sort of artistic component of this, and then also the practical element of going, you're creating unique frameworks and unique quotes and unique constructs and unique curriculums, not that are teaching things that have never been taught before, but that are being taught through a different set of frameworks and through a different set of lenses, through a different set of stories that is only available from you because it came out of your head.
Once you've discovered exactly what it is that you want to be known for, then it's your job then to figure out who it is that you're going to help. So, you can call it a customer avatar if you want, or whatever. But this is what I do. This is how I can help people. This is the type of people that I'm going to help. But my kind of big thing here is to try and niche that down as much as possible, so you can hit the ground running as quickly as possible after you get going, right? So, I could say, well, I'm a health coach and I help people get healthy. That's okay, but it's a little vanilla. There's a whole bunch of health coaches out there, right? But if you say I'm a health coach that works with men, now I've cut out the female population from my marketing, from my language. That means that obviously I can only work with men, right? Women are not going to be attracted to what I can do for them. But with that being said, the man is a very big niche as well. So I'm a health coach who works with men in their 40s. Now we're niching down even further. I'm a health coach who works with men in their 40s who are recovering from surgery. Now we've got a niche. Now we can start creating content. Now we can, create an opt-in and put it on our website or our landing page and start building an email list. Now we can think about what types of courses or one-on-one consulting work we can do. Or maybe there's a one-to-many program I can put together, a cohort-based course or something like that. So I think figuring out what it is that you want to be known for, figuring out who it is you're going to help, and then figuring out how you're going to help them is kind of the three big starting points.
If you are not growing, if you are not evolving for yourself, You can't expect someone else to grow themselves. You can't expect the people who you're trying to get on YouTube with to grow for themselves. You see, when you have character, that means you're changing. That means you're growing. That means you're evolving. Every single day, I'm asking myself, what am I changing? How am I growing? How am I evolving? How am I maturing? It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me. What am I reading? What am I consuming? What am I listening to? What gossip am I putting in my ear that it's not producing anything for me? See, when we have character, it produces change on the inside. When we produce change on the inside, here's the next C, write this down, number 3, it produces content. Character produces change on the inside. While we are evaluating the inside, it now produces, ooh, I want to talk to them about this. Ooh, God, this is it right here. Ooh, here are the 5 steps of getting out of debt. Ooh, here are the cameras you need to buy. Ooh, this is so good. It produces content because you focus on growing yourself first. Here's why some of us will never go viral. Here's why some of us will never be successful. It's because you're going out here watching everyone else, copying down their notes, regurgitating what they're saying. But here's the thing, that content didn't change you, and you expected to change them.
This is the best Chipotle order.
I would like a bowl.
Triple wrap.
Mild, medium, hot.
Then dip it in here.
Sour cream inside the vinaigrette.
2 tortillas, if you know, you know.
Lettuce, cheese, waffle.
Yes.
Oh, that is good.
Life is more legal than you think, and LegalZoom is here to help. Whether it's registering a business, starting a will or trust, or staying on top of your business licenses. When you need a legal hand, turn to LegalZoom.
We're going to take 5 oil change.
How long does this take?
Give us 10 minutes, we'll get you on your way.
10 minutes? Get out. That's fast. Like an F1 pit stop.
Head to Take 5 Oil Change and go see the movie F1, only in theaters June 27th.
You want to change them, change you first. When you change you first, it produces content that will change lives. When you can change lives, you go to the next C. I'm giving it to y'all. I told y'all I'm black, but I'm going to get up out of here. I got 11 minutes. So when you have character, character produces change on the inside. Change on the inside is going to produce content. That content is going to produce change out there. Your content, because it started with you, now produces change with your tribe. When you change your tribe, when you have content that changes the people who consumes your content, what happens? They now become in your community. When they get in your community, here's the last C. Your community now produces currency. That's how you monetize your brand. Oftentimes, what we tend to do is we jump straight to, how do I monetize? How do I get 1,000 subscribers? How do I get this? How do I get affiliates? How do I get brand deals? No, the question is to be, how do you grow? The question is to be, where do you start? What is the foundation of you? I wish a person would try and build my house and start with the roof. But isn't it so funny, when they built the house, they go deep down. They get inside the dirt. They put something inside of something that when it rains, it turns into mud. When is the last time you've got inside your own dirt, your own mud? Went deep down inside yourself and say, yo, what do I need to change before I try to change them? And when you change them, Now they're saying, yo, you gotta follow that guy, Anthony O'Neill. He crazy. This, man, he crazy. Like, for real, girl, he's screaming at me through the camera. Girl, did you listen to him? He said he don't spend no more than $50 on a date. Girl, better watch out. Yeah, watch out for me. I think oftentimes, you guys, I'm always asked, Anthony, how did you do it? How did you build this brand? How did you build this business? And it's simple. I tell them, yeah, man, I watch Sean's videos all the time. I go out here and I join these masterminds. I'm learning, I'm growing. That's great. I've done it. But before I did any of that, I had to go back and look at myself. I had to go back and ask myself, Anthony, what's your why? Do you just want a lot of money? Do you just want to look good and have a nice car to impress the single ladies because you're single? Do you want drama in your life? Or do you want peace? Do you want joy? Do you want freedom?
You absolutely must work on your personal brand statement, that youpreneur personal brand statement. Here's my statement. My personal brand statement is, I help people become the go-to leader in their industry and build future-proof businesses. I want to break this down because it's important to do this. There's two different sections of this statement which are incredibly, incredibly important for you to capture and understand. And it's based on the benefits of working with me as a business coach, as well as the outcome of working with me as well. Let me break it down and show you what I mean. First up, I help people become the go-to leader in their industry. That's a benefit, right? It's a benefit to be seen as the go-to expert, regardless of what niche you're in, right? I say niche and not niche, because I know there's probably more American people tuning in than there are British. But hey, niche, potato, patata, chamomile, whatever, I don't know. We could go all day on this. But there's that first section right there, to help people become that go-to leader in their industry. That's the benefit. The outcome of me working with them is that I will help you build a future-proof business. It's a business that is not going to be affected, or very likely to be affected, by any outside forces, because when you build the business of you, it's 100% in your hands all the time. So that's your personal brand statement. I want you to consider that. Start breaking it down right now. A benefit of working with you, or buying your products, or using your service, or whatever it is, and then the actual outcome of doing so as well. The whole point in this is that we market like a magnet, right? Just like at first, what happens is when you utilize a magnet, you're attracting the right people into your ecosystem. You're attracting the right people to your YouTube channel or your podcast feed. But at the exact same time, and this is why it's so incredibly exciting, is that you are repelling away, just like a magnet does. It attracts and repels. You are repelling away the people that should not be in that ecosystem. You know, the types of people on day 29 of your 30-day money-back guarantee, they're going to email wanting their money back. We don't need those people in our lives. We definitely don't need those people in our business sucking out our time every day, right? So you attract the best and you repel the rest. Market like a magnet. You see, at first, when you get going, a lot of you are probably a little bit further along here, but allow me to just recap for those that maybe are at the beginning of this journey that we're all on together. At first, what happens is you'll create content that you think, and that's the key word, hence the highlighted color on the screen, you think your audience will want to see from you. You know what it's like. You hit publish on your first 20, 30 videos, whatever it is, but then something miraculous happens. You find your tribe, and that tribe wants to be around you. That tribe wants to spend time with you. This is a photo of probably about a third of the stage at our Youpreneur Summit event, which takes place in London every November. Unfortunately, not this year, but I'll get over it. But they'll want to be with you. And then what happens is, later on, once you build up those relationships with people, you'll then be able to figure out and realize that you can actually create content that you know, and this is where the power is, that you know your audience wants and needs from you, right? The answers to their questions, solutions to their problems.
I went to your website and I can hire you for $4,999 for 1 hour of coaching. Why are you worth that, and how did you come to that number?
I'm not worth that. Only the buyer determines that worth. That's just the price I set. And I came to that number because I was booked too much at $1,500 an hour, $1,499 an hour, since you were so precise. So my strategy, and it's something I tell people to do, when you get booked too much, you need to raise your rates. I don't believe in making incremental increases. I want to make a seismic jump. I want to move really far forward. Selling my time is not scalable. And it is exhausting for me to talk to someone and give them all of my attention for 1 hour. And I keep thinking, what kind of buyer do I want to attract? So pricing is positioning. So when you set your price at $100,000 an hour, you're going to attract a certain type of person. That kind of person is probably a go-getter, doesn't need tactical steps, needs to hear one or two things from you that's going to change their game. And the kind of impact that person is going to make by implementing one or two things that you say is going to be profound. They're playing at a whole different level. I also believe the person who pays a ton of money is so vested in hearing what you have to say, they're so ready to do it, that you're not going to get the normal resistance if it was $1.99. Those people are going to say, why would this work? What evidence do you have? Oh, tomorrow's a good day to start. Or why should I listen to you? I'm like, I'm done. I'm bored with you already. I'm going to Mr. Miyagi it.
Would you generally encourage?
Great-grandfather came through Ellis Island.
Mine too.
Jimothy Overson III.
Found out you're related to your spouse? There's an edible for that. Get all kinds of deliciousness delivered right when you need it at edible.com.
Feels better, clean, for playing video games. Hint, no cheat code required.
Whoa!
Welcome to the 4 parks of Universal Orlando Resort, featuring the new Universal Epic Universe. With spectacular hotels, we offer a week of vacation excitement. Visit universalorlando.com.
It's a big match, and only the best will win.
Just Godzilla bankroll, stole some silly on. Yo, I ain't got it all. That means $1 million.
Yes, in general, because we don't know what the ceiling is. Your job is to find the ceiling. Your job is to find the ceiling, to set it so far that people keep saying no, and then to acquire the skills to close the skill gap. And that's the game of life. You take the ball, you throw it as far as you can, and then you run after it and you keep throwing it. That's it.
My starting 5 monetization strategies. When you've built, if we go back to the ladder very, very quickly, when you've built the audience, you've amplified everything, you've leveraged your messaging, you've worked with your community to build things out, you're starting to make money, and you're doing well. With all of this involved, it has to start somewhere. And with the starting 5 monetization strategies, this gives you 5 ideas that you can get started with straight away. Not necessarily in rolling out, but at least planning, right? At least planning them. Number 1 is coaching. Now, I will say that this is not necessarily the most scalable approach of monetizing your expertise, because obviously there's only so much one-on-one work we can do. One-on-one coaching, although it's the lowest hanging monetization fruit, it's not scalable because there's only so many hours in the day. And if you go in one-on-one with somebody, you are ultimately trading your time for dollars. Now, as long as you're charging what you're worth, we can live with that for a little while. But sooner or later, you might want to think about going from a one-to-one to a one-to-many approach with coaching or consulting. The second way that we can monetize our expertise is through affiliate marketing. Now, this is kind of almost like an indirect way, and Sean and the team at Think Media are ballers when it comes to this. Like, they do incredibly well with affiliate marketing that they do. This is ultimately where you are given, or you are giving a link to your viewers, to your listeners, to your readers, whatever it might be. And if they click on that link and they buy something, you get a commission for it. Now, I will say there's the right way to do this, and then with most other ways of looking at making money, there's a wrong way of doing this as well. You don't want to just throw one option after another. You don't want to blanket your community with a whole different affiliate marketing deals. That's not going to help you in the long run. What you want to do is look at the 2 or 3 things, 3 or 4 things that you feel your community needs above and beyond everything else to succeed in whatever it is that you're helping them with, and set up good deals with those companies or with those service providers or product providers or whatever it is, that when you introduce new customers to them, you get a little kickback. Everybody's happy. Do it the right way. Don't do it the sleazy way. The third way to be able to monetize yourself is through your own products and services. So for many, many years, I've been seen as an expert in the virtual staffing niche. And I'm still running 2 different businesses within that outsourcing and VA niche to this day. So virtualstafffinder.com, which is our VA recruiting hub, it was a no-brainer that I was to open up a business providing a service where busy entrepreneurs can find good quality Filipino virtual assistants. And to this date, actually, we've done over 8,000 VAs have been hired through our service in the last 10 years of being in business. So again, it's just about finding that gap in that market and going ahead and bridging it between whatever problem and solution there is out there. The fourth way to be able to monetize your expertise is through memberships. Now, it's not necessarily the most passive of income opportunities that are out there. However, it is a great way to be able to bring people together. And obviously, the beautiful thing about managing a membership kind of product or service is that you get predictable, reliable income on a regular basis. Whether you're billing people weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever it might be, it's that predictable, reliable income that, let's face it, every business owner loves the idea of having that in their ecosystem. And then lastly, events. As I alluded to not so long ago, for me, the most important thing that I do every year is I bring my people together. And although we're not doing it in person this year, we will figure out a way. In fact, we have figured out a way to be able to do it virtually, which we're letting our community know about a little bit later on in early October. But the fact of the matter is, events bring people together. You want to be seen. And I want to put this kind of as I wrap up and sort of just, if I can leave you with anything here, if I may, as a geek, I will use a Star Wars analogy for you to understand this. We don't want to be Luke Skywalker. As the heads of our communities, as the business owners of our companies, we don't want to be the hero. We don't want to be Luke. What we want to be is Obi-Wan. We want to be the wise old guide. We want to show our customers, our community members, our subscribers how to do things. Because when everything in the world goes back to quote unquote normal, whatever that might end up looking like, or whenever somebody discovers you and they watch just one single video and can change their lives almost instantly, if not a little further down the line, when we do that, as the Obi-Wan character, as the guide, and not trying to make it all about us with our sexy blue lightsaber like Luke does, it's all about helping our people in our communities. In fact, if anything, we want to be shining the light on our community members and on our customers as the heroes.
Really thinking about the personal brand that you're building and not underestimating the power of personality and even storytelling in your content. Because I know that sometimes people just want the pragmatic, just give me the information, and they're going to come get the information and leave. Well, you probably never would have got them anyways. They're using YouTube like a utility. However, really probably the only way to truly build a personal brand and connection is by adding more than just the raw information. Especially in like a world of AI, we need more humans than we ever have before. Like we need real people with their personality coming through. And so something to think about, that personal branding and weaving in personality is going to be helpful. Story being another one of those.
The reason why a lot of us don't scale is because we live inside of the comfort zone. True story, I'll make it real quick. It's a little weird story, but follow me here. My teacher brought a frog. She gave us a frog. She said, "Hey, we're not going to dissect the frog. We're going to boil the frog." So we gradually just boiled the frog, right, from 1 to 10, slowly. Frog was jumping around, went to sleep, and unfortunately, we boiled the frog. I raised my hand and I asked the teacher this simple question. I said, "Hey, what happened? Because how come the frog didn't fight for his life?" And she said one good thing. She said, "Frogs get comfortable in the heat." And then as I was growing up, something hit me and said that the frog didn't die in his sleep. It died in its comfort zone. And I think a lot of us really have to understand that the things that are comfortable may not always be the best thing for us. And when I stepped out on my own, it was very uncomfortable. When I hired my first person full time, leaving their job to come work with me, it was uncomfortable. When I just hired another person, it was uncomfortable. When I'm cutting these checks, it was uncomfortable. But I've learned being uncomfortable has made room for me to impact more lives. Now we go back to point number 2. When we impact more lives, we're becoming influential. When we're becoming influential, now we're producing income. But sometimes we're not willing to step out. We're not willing to go to Sean and say, "Hey, Sean, just gut check me. Rip my YouTube channel apart. Tell me what is wrong. Tell me what I need to do wrong." Because it's uncomfortable to hear what we're not strong at. It's uncomfortable to have a coach, to have an accountability person in your life, to gut check you and say, "Hey, listen, you got to do this better. You need to do this better." And I believe if you really want to scale, if you really want to grow your business, if you really want to grow your YouTube channel, then you need to get with someone that's not going to tell you, "Hey, that's a good job only. Hey, this is good, but here are the areas that you need to gut check yourself on. Hey, you need to hire these people. I know it's comfortable seeing your account over here, but if you want your account to go up, you need to make these hires that's going to, spend more money, and you'll be all right." But don't allow your comfort zone to become your kill zone.
And the secret shortcut that we found is this. It's realizing that you are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be the world's smartest. What the world wants from you is for you to tell the story and share the strategies for how you overcame the things that you have overcome. That's what uniqueness looks like. That's what community looks like in the future. And it's actually very tactical to get you there. You start by saying, what problem have you pushed past? What obstacle have you overcome? What challenge have you conquered? What tragedy have you triumphed over? What setback have you survived? Because nobody else in the world can talk with as much specificity and credibility for how to overcome that thing as you. And nobody can teach how to overcome it in the way that you overcome it with more credibility than you. And nobody can teach about how to overcome the thing in the way you did it with the stories and the background and who looks like you. And these things all matter, right? Like, it matters how you look. Eminem was a white rapper. It mattered how he looked. He connected with a generation because people said, he looks like me. And so they a new group paid attention.
Well, if you've been loving the content in today's episode, I think you're going to love 21videotips.com. We've compiled the best advice from previous speakers at our event, Grow with Video, on video marketing, personal branding, making money with video, YouTube, and all the social platforms, and highlighted it in a downloadable guide and free class. If you click the link in the show notes or just go to 21videotips.com, you can get access to that entirely for free. And if you also enjoyed today's episode, like, share, rate, review, wherever you watch or listen to the Think Media podcast. Until next time, my name is Sean Cannell, your guide to building a profitable YouTube channel. And I can't wait to see you in a future episode.
Your home is your happy place.
Until you come back to bad odors, use Febreze plug-in. It has a microchip that alternates between 2 scents to fight odors and provide freshness for up to 50 days. Try Febreze Plug.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to see the possibilities all around you. With Capella University, a different future could be closer than you think.
Hands down, that is the story of most of my clients. I watched some of your videos on YouTube. I liked you. I bought your course. Get the product out there, make some money. You can always improve upon it. You can watch all my videos on YouTube for free, and you'd probably become a really good guitar player, but it might take you 2 or 3 years. Or you could spend $297 in the next 6 months. You could do everything much quicker. You know, the biggest thing I overlooked in the beginning was.
So if you've been thinking about packaging what you know into an online course that actually sells and generates income, then you're going to want to listen to the end of this episode. My guest today on the Think Media podcast is Lauren Bateman, and she has generated over $3 million in online course sales. She transformed her guitar teaching into a multi-million dollar online education business. And she's going to be talking about the exact strategies that she has learned from building, launching, and scaling online courses with her YouTube channel that have served people, transformed lives, and have transformed her life in the process. And so, Lauren, I'm curious, what was your first ever online course offering? When did you have the aha moment that you're like, I think I want to do this? And what year was that? And how did that process come about?
Yeah, I knew right from the get-go that I wanted to have some kind of product to offer people. So I uploaded my first video on YouTube. It was March 2017. I started filming my first course in July of that year. And I did most of the recording over the summer, and it was a smaller version of what my course is now. But I went to my studio, I recorded it, I came back, edited it, and I think I released it in November of that year. And I released it to 2 sales, which, you know, hey, that was great for me at the time, but, you know, it wasn't, you know, a windfall of sales. But yeah, it was basically start YouTube, get a course, and start promoting it on the channel.
And give us the context. You mentioned that you had a studio, but you had a brick and mortar guitar studio. And what was your vision behind maybe wanting to get out of the day-to-day grind of being able to coach people, but having to do it in person?
Yeah. So, you know, I originally started teaching 101, and then I opened a bunch of brick and mortar businesses and had employees, and I was still teaching at the schools. And I'm like, I really enjoy the teaching process, but I didn't want to have to be tied down to a specific location. Having that freedom and flexibility was very, very important to me. So I was like, how can I do that? And I had the bright idea, okay, let me try YouTube. And, you know, I've released some videos, started getting some views, started getting some comments and some questions. And I said, oh, you know, I should put some of this stuff into a course, because I realized, you know, YouTube's very haphazard, you know, and then people will watch a video and then YouTube will suggest a video, but they're not sure if that video is right for them. Maybe that's too advanced for them. So I'm like, what if I put everything in a course and I put it in a step-by-step system for them to learn and play guitar? And that's exactly what I did.
Now, it might seem like you have an unfair advantage because you were already a guitar teacher. I would say that's a proven topic that people would want to actually pay for. But if someone's listening to this, they want to launch an online course, how would you encourage them to try to validate their idea so that they don't create a course or package something into a course that like won't actually sell or that people are not interested in actually paying for?
Yeah, that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They release a course and you know, it's crickets. And part of the reason it was crickets for me was because I didn't have, you know, a giant audience yet. But what I would do, and this is what I, you know, when I coach and I work with people, what I tell them to do is go find a Facebook group. Okay, go find a Facebook group, beginner guitar group, how to lose weight group, whatever your expertise is, and just go in the comments and see the questions people are asking. Because most of the time, there's going to be a theme, or the questions are going to be very, very similar. And you can start seeing what the common problems are that your client or your potential client would have. And then you'd ask yourself, well, can I create a course around this problem? So remember, courses is helping people get a transformation. You're taking them from point A to maybe point C or point D. You're trying to help them move through this problem and come out on the other side feeling like they've won. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is just do some research on what people are looking for.
And what was the name of your original course?
I think it was, beginner guitar course. Lauren Bateman's beginner guitar course. I wasn't good at making up names in the beginning.
That's great. But I mean, that's amazing. That's where you started. You got it out there. As you mentioned, you got 2 sales, right?
Yeah.
And then you've scaled up to there. I'm curious how you determine the scope, the course development process. I think that listeners to this can feel overwhelmed. Am I teaching, 10 years, 101, 201, 301, 401 of the topic? Where do I start? Where do I end? Where do I, determine how it should be structured? For you, what was your course development process early on?
Yeah, so the first version of my course was basically, what would I teach someone in the first 3 months of coming into my studio? So the goal was to teach them some simple chords, some simple strumming patterns, and get them to be able to play, a few songs on their guitar. And that was the original part of the course. And then, as people went through it, I saw they were asking more questions. And then I kind of added on to it, and it became a bigger course. But I think for a lot of people, that's a good place to start. Is like, if I was going to help someone, what would be the first 90-day transformation they have to go through to feel like they would have a win? So for me, if someone can go from not being able to play guitar at all to being able to feel comfortable playing even some simple songs on the guitar after 90 days, that's a transformation. That's a win. And then you can either create, another module that maybe answers another question, or you start segueing people into other courses that take them further along the journey.
The time-based approach is genius. Like when thinking about, I've heard one person put it this way, if you want to make a mini